Chapter 1. The Last Mission. Even the mightiest hero fall, but it's what they do afterward that defines them. It's something my mentor always said. Back then, I didn't really understand what she meant by it. How could I? I mean, come on, I was only 17. But now, everything in my life changed after I met him. If it's you, Sir Hope, then this mission won't even take half a day. A voice came from my earpiece. Ha! When will they learn? What am I? Their God. They expect too much from me. Everywhere I go, people worship me like I'm their God. Oh, you're so powerful. No one is stronger than you. The savior of humanity. The strongest hero known to mankind. The rank 1 hero. Utter bullshit. They don't know the blood, sweat, and tears I've poured into this journey. The strongest human ever known to mankind. That title didn't come easy. And trust me on this, no one in the next 100 years will come close to earning it. What about the rank 2 hero, you ask? Heh, not even close. But enough about that. Let's get back to the mission. As always, the Hero Association handed me one of their impossible tasks, a standard protocol for the rank 1 hero. Let's begin. I tapped on my wristband, and a glowing holographic screen appeared in front of me. It resembled a blue transparent window. Mission details, mission rank SS plus assigned hero. Name, Osfarm. Chun Lao Hope, hero rank 01. I'm in position, confirming target location, over. I tapped on my earpiece and reported in. A cold, emotionless voice responded. Assistant Mary reporting. Location confirmed, your coordinates are 0 434 far, south 78 DRV 40, east on Floor Island. Sir Hope, you are cleared to proceed. Oh, it's Mary. Been a while. How have you been? I asked. Position confirmed. Current location verified. Sir Hope, please proceed with your mission. I smirked. Still all business, huh? That's why you're still single. Sir! Hope, the president is monitoring your move. My smile faded. Fuck, just my rotten luck. Sigh. I'm proceeding with the mission. The atmosphere in Flora Island was different. The wind across the island carried a mournful tone that echoed through the dense forest. The towering cliffs loomed over the raging ocean, where all the waves slammed against the rocks, creating a thunderous crowing. The air around me felt heavy and cold, and the atmosphere was unusually silent. It was 7 p.m., but the sky was so dark that it felt like it was midnight. Thunder rolled into the distant sky, and rain fell relentlessly, making a hammering sound on the ground. The chill was so piercing that it could freeze even an undead to its death. Something was not right. This is the right place, yeah? I asked. Affirmative, Mary replied. I stood at the edge of a cliff as I scanned the island before me. The mission seemed very simple. Reclaim the island from enemy forces. But the silence was bothering me. It was just too quiet, as if the island had been deserted for at least a decade. I guess this might be my last mission, I said jokingly. Did you say something, sir? No, anyway, what am I fighting here? A ghoul? A reaper? Or maybe a fallen? It's wrath, sir. My brow furrowed. Wrath? Monsters in this world came in all shapes and ranks, each with unique abilities. And Wrath was a middle-tier monster. A threat, sure, but nothing a triple-rank hero couldn't handle. You're kidding, right? Then why is this mission ranked SS+? Wait, don't tell me it's an army of Wrath? Even that didn't sit right. A single rank 10 hero could take care of an army of Wrath easily. But sending me, the rank 1 hero, to handle this was an overkill. I felt like something was off. Was it a trap? A test? Or maybe something far worse? No time to think. Permission to use, Doombringer, I ordered. As these words left my mouth, a heavy weight settled on my chest. I deduced this wasn't just any regular mission. Something had definitely off. Something far bigger than I had ever anticipated. And for the very first time in years, I wasn't sure of myself, that I was ready. End of chapter. On me. The first couple of chapters may seem to have some purple prose and long paragraphs in some places. As when I started writing, I didn't know the meaning of these. Please bear with it for a bit. As of now, I have started writing each paragraph shorter compared to before. I will keep editing the past chapters when I get time. Chapter 2, The Last Mission. Something's off, I muttered, looking around. The atmosphere on Flora Island was electric. The rain hammered relentlessly against the ground, reducing my visibility. The winds howled, twisting trees into bizarre shapes, and the waves crashing against the island's cliffs added a dark and powerful rhythm to the chaos. I stood at the edge of the cliff, my black cape fluttered in the wind. I tapped over the controller panel on my wristband, which displays Doombringer, my weapon. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a destruction itself, a powerful weapon, one that I wielded with absolute precision and control. Activating Doombringer, I muttered. My voice was barely audible over the storm. As those words left my mouth, I poured my essence into the Doombringer. The ground beneath me began to glow as my body emitted lightning of different colors. My emotions were like a storm mirroring the chaotic weather outside. I clenched my fist. No time for doubt. I need to focus. The weapon materialized before me, a massive black katana with a faint glow of violet hue, emitting with unstable energy. Sparks cracked along its long-edged length, illuminating the surrounding with its violet glow. As I gripped the hilt, a surge of familiar raw power coursed in my veins. For a moment, I felt invincible. Enemy detected at 10 o'clock, Mary reported. Rustle, growl. From the distance, dozens of wraiths emerged from the tree line. Their glowing red eyes pierced through the darkness, and their guttural growls were barely audible over the storm. They moved in a horrifying and strange synchronization manner that hinted that some greater intelligence is controlling them. Ha! I took a deep breath, narrowing my eyes. I unleashed the Doombringer. Come to Daddy, I growled. That was cringe. I hope Mary didn't hear it. Rumble. The ground trembled beneath my feet as my blade sliced through the air with fierce intensity. Swoosh! The first swing of the Doombringer unleashed a devastating arc of energy around me, slicing through the advancing wraiths like butter with brutality. A single swoop of my blade eradicated all the wraiths, destroying nearly a mile of trees in the process. Heh, told you it will be overkill. The explosion of light and heat vaporized the surrounding rain into steam. Something really off. Hey, Mary, are there any other monster species here except the wraiths? Negative, Marcy, Mary answered. For every wraith I cut down, 2 more seemed to take its place. They moved strategically, leading me towards the heart of the island. Then I felt it. It's a trap. They're stalling me, I muttered, my eyes darting around the battlefield. For what exactly? Suddenly a chilling presence made itself known. The air around me grew colder, and the storm seemed to momentarily stop as if holding its breath. As I turned, all my instincts were screaming me to run away, but it was too late. From the shadows, a figure emerged unlike any I had encountered before. Cloaked in darkness, its form was indistinct, shifting and blurring like smoke in the wind. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. Who's that? I didn't sense him. Without any delay, I held the hilt of my Doombringer and slashed at the figure. Full essence, I muttered as I hit the shadow with my blade. Before I could react, the figure moved with blinding speed. It caught my Doombringer with his bare hands. Golden-colored blood started dripping from the figure's hand. What? Golden blood? That doesn't... Before I could process the sight, the figure flicked its wrist, exerting a force so great that it sent me flying, my body crashing through trees and slamming into the cliffside. Pain erupted through me as I struggled to breathe. The metallic taste of blood filled my mouth. What the... I coughed, struggling to stand. The Doombringer lay several feet away, its glow dimming. I tried reaching for it, but the figure appeared before me as he plunged his hand right into my chest. All this happened so quickly that even I, hailed as the strongest human known to mankind, was left in awe. Hope, it said mockingly. How ironic. My vision blurred as I felt an icy, burning pain spread from the wound. The figure leaned closer, its voice a mere whisper in my ear. Even the greatest can fall. How is this possible? No one has ever made me feel this weak. And why can't I move my body? Was it because of that golden blood? No, it can't be. The world around me seemed to slow. The storm, the rain, the battle, all of it faded into the background as I collapsed to my knees. My mind was racing, memories flashing before my eyes. Faces of my mother, father, and my big sister appeared one after another. It's been a while since I have seen their faces. How much years have passed? 2 years. No, 3 years, I assume, since I last saw them. They didn't even know that their son was the rank 1 hero. What type of face they will make if they knew proud. Worry. Knowing my mother, she will definitely cry. My father, I think he will be proud. And my sister? I am curious to know what kind of face she'll make. Sir Hope, your vitals are falling. Sir Hope, can you hear me? I'm back at that right. With you, Mary's voice broke through my earpiece, panicked for the first time. Please respond, sir. No, not yet. This can't be it, I whispered. But even as I fought to hold on, darkness began to consume me. The battlefield was silent now, as Hope's lifeless body lay motionless amidst the chaos, his once vibrant aura extinguished. The Doombringer, inert and dull, rested a few meters away, like a relic left in a battlefield. As the storm began to calm, as if the heavens themselves mourned the loss of the rank 1 hero, the figure that had struck the final blow watched for a moment longer. The fallen Hope, it murmured before vanishing into the shadows, leaving no trace behind. Hero Association HQ news of Hope's death reached the Hero Association headquarters within hours. The sterile white conference room was silent as the board members, men and women in sharp suits with sharp eyes to match, gathered around a long table. The air was cold, devoid of emotion, as the president of the Hero Association, a man known as Marcus Bloodstone, stood at the head of the table. So, it's confirmed, Marcus said, his voice like steel cutting through the air. Hope is dead. A murmur ran through the conference room, but it was subdued, restrained. No one dared to show grief or shock. Not here, not in front of Marcus. We cannot afford for this information to reach the public, Marcus continued. The rank 1 hero is more than just a man. He is a symbol, a beacon of hope for humanity. If they find out he's gone, he deliberately let the sentence hang, the unspoken consequences heavy in the air. One of the board members, a woman with piercing gray eyes, leaned forward. What do you propose, Mr. President? Marcus's lips curled up into an ominous smile, devoid of warmth. We replace him. Gasps echoed around the table. Another member, an older man with thin frame, spoke up. You mean find another hero to take his place? Exactly, Marcus said. We'll assign a new hero to the name Hope. The public doesn't need to know what happened. To them, Hope will be alive, still fighting for humanity. And where do we find such a hero who matched Hope's description? The women with gray eyes asked. I have a perfect candidate for it, Marcus stated immediately. But what about his legacy? Someone whispered. Bam! Marcus slammed his hand on the table, his cold, calculated demeanor breaking for just a moment. His legacy belongs to us, to the Hero Association. Cough, cough. Hope is not a person, it's an idea, a brand. And we cannot let the brand die. Silence fell over the room again. No one dared oppose him. What about his body? The gray-eyed woman asked. Destroy all evidence, chop his body parts, and bury it deep in the island. Ensure that no one ever finds out the truth, Marcus ordered. 30 days later, with that almost a month has passed, a new hero was chosen. His name was irrelevant. What mattered was his appearance and ability to mimic Hope's powers. The new Hope stood on a stage at a press conference, the Hero Association's emblem gleaming on the backdrop behind him. The crowd cheered. We will continue to fight for humanity, the new Hope declared, raising his fist in a gesture of triumph. But behind the scenes, the Hero Association moved like a machine, cold and efficient. Files were erased, records altered, and the real Hope's existence reduced to whispers and ashes. 60 days later, deep beneath the surface of Flora Island, something stirred. Hope's body parts, tossed in a forgotten corner of the battlefield, began to glow faintly. An unknown energy pulsed through him, knitting together torn flesh and mending broken bone. His heart, silent for so long, gave a single powerful beat. But dump! Ba-dump! Hope's eyes shot open as he gasped for the air as if surfacing from the depth of darkest ocean. He clutched his chest, feeling no wound, no pain. His body was whole, unscarred. "What happened?" he muttered, his voice hoarse. Memories flooded back to him. The battle, the mysterious enemy, the cold, final death. But then something else. A fragment of knowledge buried deep within him surfaced. A skill, hidden within him, has activated in his final moment of death. Immortality, he whispered, the word tasting foreign yet familiar on his tongue. As I stood, I felt my legs trembling as I surveyed the area. The Doombringer lay nearby, still lifeless. I picked it up without any delay. When will the backup coming, I wished. I loomed my attention to my wristband and tried to contact the association, but it seems out of battery. I remembered charging it to fullest. It has to last at least 30 days. Is it broken? I waited. 1 hour passed, 2 hours passed, 6 hours has passed, and there is not a single member of Hero Association. What exactly happened? Without waiting any longer, I started climbing the cliff. As I climbed, the brimming light of sun falls on my skin, erasing my worries. As I reached the top, I witnessed something unusual. The island is brimming with people. People were partying on the beach, swimming in the ocean. Cars honking on the roads. Huge sideboards of Hero Association pasted on the hot air balloons floating above my head. Without wasting any minute, I returned to the main island. I moved in secrecy. As I searched for the clues, my instincts guided me toward answers. What I discovered left me reeling. The Hero Association's betrayal was laid bare. The press conferences, the new hope. I stood in the shadows of a crowded city square, watching as the new hope, in a press conference, flaunting his recent achievement. My fists clenched, as my nails digging into my palms until they drew blood. "After everything I gave them," I muttered. My voice trembled with a mix of anger and despair. Betrayal burned in my chest, a searing pain that threatened to consume me. Anger coursed through my veins, hot and unrelenting. Agony twisted in my guts, the weight of knowing I was discarded as a tool, my legacy stolen. And yet, amidst it all, there was a flicker of relief. I was alive. I had another chance. But what should I do with it? Should I take revenge? Should I leave everything behind? "I think I understand your words now, Master," I whispered. Without any more thinking, I went to the island's airport. It's been almost 3 years I saw my parents' face. I wonder how are they? "Hey," I chuckled. As I reached the airport's reception window, a young lady with dark black hair greeted me. "Good morning, sir. How may I help you?" "A flight ticket to Frostvile City?" I answered. Certainly. Give me a few minutes. May I check your identity, please?" I froze for a moment, showing my Hero Association card, as rank 1 would definitely cause an uproar. I quickly checked my inventory ring, which to my relief was still functioning. From it, I retrieved my citizenship card and handed it to the receptionist with a calm smile. "Here you go, ma'am." The card was a standard 3x6 centimeters in size and transparent in appearance. Every citizen in this world possessed one. The data on the card automatically updated to reflect any changes in the body, like hair color, skin tone, marital status, or occupation. It was no different from my Hero Association card, except for one detail. It displayed my real name, a name even the members of Hero Association didn't know. That was part of the contract I had signed with them. My identity was to remain undisclosed, even to the upper echelons of the organization. "All right, sir, please wait while I verify your details," the receptionist said, studying the card closely. "Citizen of Frostvile Kingdom name, Zane Skylark occupation, none age 17, birthplace, Honeyford, Frostvile Kingdom, date of birth, 12/04/5E30. All done, Mr. Skylark. Thank you for your patience. Here's your citizenship card and your ticket to Frostvile. Wishing you a pleasant journey." After thanking the receptionist, I took a seat in the waiting area. A few hours passed before my flight details appeared on the digital board. I boarded the plane, settling in for the roughly 7-hour flight from Flora Island. It was plenty of time to come up with a believable excuse for the 3 years later reunion with my parents. End of chapter. Chapter 3, Return. The cool, fresh air greeted me as I walked out of the Frostville airport. It is currently 8 a.m. in the morning. The sky is blue, scattered with wisp-white clouds, and the Frostville mountain in the distance, its icy peaks glittering like diamonds as the sunlight scattered through it. The city of Frostville stretched out before me, a perfect blend of ancient architecture and modern innovation. The crystal white streets stretched endlessly. I adjusted my jacket and walked into the bustling city square. The shops and hotels lining the streets were filled with life vendors, selling clothes, and steaming street food that fills the air with its rich, provocative aroma. So much has changed after only 3 years, I murmured. Before returning to my hometown, Honeyford, I decided to buy some clothes in a luggage bag. I did have my clothes in my inventory ring, but I couldn't use those. As to prevent any unnecessary questioning, I chose not to wear them. Every single item was of high quality and value luxuries only people with high status like nobles could afford. Additionally, I couldn't even use my inventory ring in public either, because it was the rarest of rare artifacts, valued so highly that you could probably buy part of Frostville Mountain with it. A standard inventory ring had a built-in storage capacity, allowing items to be stored in a confined dimensional space. Mine worked the same, but its capacity is vast. It could store up to 50 airplanes inside it. Even a regular inventory ring was rare, each price worth as much as a national treasure. As I wandered around, I stopped in front of an ancient-looking clothing store. Let's see. Pushing the creaky door open, I stepped inside and greeted by a badly organized space, with racks of cloaks, robes, and boots crammed into every available corner. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a warm sensation, while an ancient stove in the corner struggled to keep the cool at bay, puffing occasional plumes of smoke. The air smelled faintly of wool, lavender, and an explicit hint of burning coal. Behind the counter stood a man in his 50s, wearing an outlandish fur coat, its arms outstretched like it was guarding the merchandise. Above it, a hand-painted sign read, "No refunds. All sales final unless I like you." Cloaks enchanted to repel ice spells dangling on racks labeled battle-tested, while boots advertised as never slip again. The heck's wrong with this What can I get you, sir? We sell almost everything from head to toe, every possible accessory. Name it, and I will present it to you. After spotting me, the shop owner greeted me with a creepy smile. I'm just looking around. Please take you time, good sir. That scared the shit out of me. As I browse around a bit, my eyes stopped on a black long coat. Ah, this coat is perfect for someone like you. Durable, stylish, and only 300,000, said the creepy shopkeeper. 300? Are you selling the coat or a piece of the Frostville Mountain with it? Quality has its price, young man. At this rate, I'll have to offer a kidney to afford even a glove, I said jokingly. Well, if you're offering. It was a joke. What's with this guy? Oh, with this coat, you even get a free enchanted hat, the creepy shopkeeper said, presenting me something vaguely resembling a hat. It has 2 big round eyes and few red feathers on top. Why does it look like a chicken? I asked. It's not a chicken. It's a frost phoenix, symbolizing power and grace, he explained. Frost phoenix, never heard of them. It's staring at me like I owe it money. That's just enchantment working. It's intimidating your enemies. I'm more worried about intimidating myself. Does this place even sell decent clothes? By all means, sir, take a look at this scarf. It's really Friendle-Cough. I mean fancy. It's currently our best-selling item. Did he just... The creepy-looking shopkeeper pulled out a scarf. The scarf is glittered in a mixed combination of pink, red, blue, and purple color. Doesn't it look like it belonged in a children's birthday party? Okay, then. How about this one? The creepy shopkeeper proceeds to pulls out a plain-looking gray scarf. I took the scarf from his hand and tried it on. The scarf has a woolen texture to it. I kind of like it. Finally, something that says I'm serious, I complimented. Oh, it does say something. It whispers motivational quotes while you wear it. You are kidding. You can do it. Take it off. Take it off right now. What is wrong with this place? Should I just run away? Hey, don't through him. Wait, sir. Don't go. Please, just one chance. Give me one chance. I have clothes with no enchantment and with no hidden creature cough. I mean, no hidden magic tool in it. With that, he presented me some decent, cheap-looking clothes. I carefully examined it before adding it to my basket. Now I only need weapon and a luggage bag. Also, show me a long sword with decent material, and it has to be lightweight, I ordered. As you wish, sir. From the corner rack, he pulled out a maying old-looking sword. This sword is perfect for you. Normally it's 500,000, but for you, I'll do 150. That's suspiciously generous. What's wrong with it? Nothing, it's just, slightly haunted. Define slightly. Oh, just occasional whispers and maybe a scream or two at night. Totally manageable. I'm paying extra not to have a screaming sword. Finally, after an exhausting amount of negotiation and resisting the urge to strangle the creepy shopkeeper, I walked out with a medium-sized leather luggage bag. Inside, it was 6 pairs of clothes and a plain-looking katana. The creepy shopkeeper tried one last time to convince me to take the motivational scarf, but I was out of there before he could finish his pitch. I made my way to a food stall. The smell of grilled frost trout and hot spicy cider was irresistible. I sat down, savoring the warmth of the meal against the chill of the air. The food tasted better than I remembered, or maybe I just hadn't had the time to enjoy simple pleasure in years. As I ate, my thought wandered. Frostvale was one of the 5 elemental kingdoms, each named after and ruled by their dominant elementals. Frostvale for ice, Pyrostone for fire, Terra Nova for earth, Stormshade for wind, and Aquador for water. Each kingdom thrives on pursuing its magical affinity they are rich with, their people adept in their respective elemental. Yet, unlike most, I had the rare ability to wield all 5 that set me apart, even among the top heroes. I had wielded that power to become rank 1. But now I wonder if even that was enough. My thoughts darkened as I remembered the mysterious figure killing me, its golden blood, its mocking words. That mysterious enemy wasn't just strong, it was an unknown existence, which defies even my logic and reasoning, and it had defeated me like I was nothing. My memories are still fresh. It's like it had happened just yesterday. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a threat in this world that I couldn't handle, even with all my power. That very thought chilled me more than Frostvale's air. And what of this newfound skill immortality? No matter how much I focused, I couldn't even tell what that skill actually does, or what are its limitations, or even its side effects. Would it work again if I fail? Or was it a one-time miracle with unknown consequences? I decided to make my every move carefully, and to avoid any unnecessary attention. I wouldn't return to the Hero Association. They had betrayed me, discarded me like a tool. For now, I would just lay low and live quietly. If the world needs a hero again, then someone else would have to take that burden. With my mind made up, I made my way to the Frostvale Central Station. The air buzzed with the rhythmic sound of trains arriving and departing. Each train looked like a masterpiece, sleek and glistering with frost along its surface. Unlike conventional trains, that doesn't rely on tracks. It hovers and moves along invisible air currents. The design of the train combines modern technology and ancient magical rune engraved into its bottom surface. I approached the counter where a board attendant looked up from her magazine. "I ticket to Honeyford," I said. She typed on a glowing panel and handed me the ticket. "Platform 7, departure in 20 minutes. As I made my way through the crowded terminal, where passengers bustled with energy, lugging their belongings while children ran around chasing enchanted snowballs. It felt nostalgic, this blend of peace and joy. Arriving at Platform 7, I noticed a young boy and his mother sitting on a bench. The boy held a small ace fox in his lap, its tiny body shimmering with faint frost elemental as it wagged its fluffy tail. The sight brought a faint smile to my lips. I boarded the train and settled into my seat by the window. The train began to move. I stared out, watching Frostvale Mountain's snowy landscape blur into motion. It whizzed past towering pine tree forests coated in snow, glittering lakes reflecting the sunlight, and small villages nested like jewels in the white wide space. It had been 3 years since I last saw Honeyford. My heart felt a strange mix of anticipation and anxiety. Would anything has changed? The train speaker announcing the next station Honeyford. I adjusted my coat and glanced at my reflection in the window. The person staring back at me was someone I barely recognized, a shadow of the man I once was. The reflection was cold, stiff, with silver eyes that carried battles fought in silence. My hair was darker than I remembered, fell over my forehead, and my lips pressed together in a smile that betrays my unease. Would they recognize me? Would my old life be waiting for me? As I stepped off, breathing in the familiar scent of pine and snow. Honeyford was a quiet town, its charm deep-rooted in simplicity. The scent of fresh snow mingled with the aroma of fresh strawberries, and the cozy homes and small shops looked almost untouched by time. It was exactly as I remembered. As I entered the town square, my eyes were drawn to a familiar building, my parents' cafe. Its warm, inviting glow stood out even amidst the cozy town. The wooden sign above the door, engraved with the name Skylark Cafe, swinging gentle by the breeze. As I approached, I hesitated at the door, my heart pounding. It had been 3 years since I last saw them. Would they recognize me? Did they think I was dead? The very answer terrifies me, but I couldn't stay away from it any longer. Sigh, breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out. Taking a deep breath, I pushed open the door. The bell above jingled softly, and the warmth of the cafe engulfed me. The scent of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries hit me, bringing back a flood of memories. For a brief moment, I forgot all my worries. Behind the counter stood a woman with gentle features and dark, wavy hair tied in a loose bun. She was serving a customer, her movements gracefully, carefully, and yet elegant. She hasn't changed a bit. "Welcome to Skylark Cafe," she said cheerfully, her head bowed as she finished wrapping up an order. But when she looked up, she saw me completely. Her smile faded, replaced by a look of stunned disbelief. I felt my throat tighten and an aching pain run through my throat as I took a step forward. "Hello, Mother," I said, my voice trembling. Her eyes widened, and the tray she was holding fell off her hands, clattering near the counter. For a moment, there was only silence. Then she rushed around the counter, her hands covering her mouth as tears streamed down her face. "Zane," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Is this really you?" I nodded, unable to utter a word. My vision blurred as she reached me, pulling me into her tight embrace. Her warmth, her scent. It was everything I had missed. "You are alive! You are alive! You are alive!" she sobbed, her voice filled with both relief and pain. "My baby boy, my Zane." I clung to her like a lifeline, my own tears falling freely, soaking her shoulder wet. For the first time in years, I felt like a son and not like some rank one hero. And in that moment, all the pain, sorrow, suffering, betrayal, and fear melted away. "Mom, I am home." I was home. End of chapter 4. Homecoming, the words hung in the air. "Mom, I am home." They felt unreal even to me, but it was real, all too real. My mother clung to me like I might disappear at any moment, her sobs filling the cafe. "You're alive," she repeated, her voice trembling with disbelief and overwhelming joy. "You're alive." Her grip on me tightened. Her cries were loud enough to draw attention from the cafe's customers. Conversations halted. Chairs scraped against the floor as they turned towards us, their expressions raging with confusion to concern. Some whispered to one another, but I couldn't hear them over the sound of my mother's weeping. From the kitchen, a man emerged, wiping his hands on a towel. He was tall and had broad-shouldered. His dark hair was streaks of gray. His eyes, weary from years of hard work, froze for a moment as he saw us. The towel slipped from his hand as he rushed toward the scene. "Eleanor, what's going on?" His voice was steady, his steps halted as his gaze landed on me. He stopped in his tracks, his face pale and eyes wide with disbelief. My mother finally loosened her grip enough to move turned toward him, still hugging me, her face wet with all the tears. Leonard, it's Zane. Our Zane. He's alive. See? What did I tell you for all this time? My baby boy, he is alive." He didn't move. For a long moment, he simply stood there, staring at me with disbelief as if I were a ghost. His lips opened and closed like a fish, as if trying to say something. But no words came out. The cafe grew even quieter, the onlookers holding their breath, as if they too were awaiting his reaction. Finally, my father broke free from his shock, taking a slow and steady steps toward me. His eyes teared and his voice cracked as he spoke. How is this possible? Is it really you, Zane?" I nodded, my throat tight, as I replied, "It's me, Dad. I'm home." His hands trembled as he reached out his hand to touch my shoulder, as if afraid I might vanish under his fingers. When he felt the solidity of my presence, he hurriedly pulled me into an embrace. It was firm, strong, the embrace of father who had longed for his son every day for 3 years. "You are alive," he whispered, his voice breaking. "My boy, my Zane." "I'm here," I said, my own voice breaking, my tears falling. "I'm here, Dad." As the tears in the embrace between the three continued, a sweet voice suddenly came from the staircase, her voice shaky, a little hesitant. What's going on?" "Dad, Mom." My heart clenched. There she was, my older sister, standing frozen at the top of the stairs. She looks exactly like younger version of my mother. Her long black hair falls over her shoulders, reaching her waist. Her usually composed demeanor crumbles as she stared me. Her pale hands trembled. "Zane?" Her voice barely audible. Tears already streaming, I took a step forward. "Hey, Elise, it's me." She gasps, her legs giving way for a moment, as if her body couldn't handle the flood of emotions hitting her all at once. But then, without any hesitation, she rushed down the stairs, nearly tripping in her toes, as she throws herself at my arms, her voice cracking as she sobs uncontrollably, gripping me so tightly it almost hurts. "Zane, it's you. It's really you. I thought I'd never see you. I thought I've lost you forever." Holding her tightly, feeling her shaking in my arms, my voice cracks. "I'm here, sis. I'm here. I'm sorry for leaving you. I'm so sorry." For a moment, it was just the four of us. My sister quietly sobs, my mother and father silently tears, and me sandwiched between them. The cafe faded away. Nothing else mattered to me. Eventually, my father pulled back slightly, his hands still on my shoulders. His eyes searched mine as such, looking for a proof that this wasn't some kind of illusion. "Where have you been for all those years? We thought we lost you in that explosion." I took a deep breath, bracing myself for the lies I have rehearsed on my way here. "I survived, but barely," I said, my voice low and steady. "The explosion on Frostfile Museum threw me far away, and I was in a coma for the past 3 years. It wasn't completely a lie. I couldn't blame them for thinking I was dead. That day at Frostfile Museum, my parents had taken me for a tour when an unexpected explosion killed nearly 100 civilians. I was caught in the blast and barely survived. The Hero Association found me and took me in, claiming I had some kind of bizarre powers. For at least a year, I was trained like a monk for the sole purpose of being the greatest weapon they possess. And later on, I became everyone's symbol of hope, and they named me Hope. My real identity as Zane Skylark remained hidden. Even from them, I had signed a contract that stated revealing of my identity would bring them doom at my own hands. Thus, even the upper echelon members of the Hero Association didn't know who I truly was. "A coma?" my mother repeated, her voice trembling, worrying as her soft hand squeezing mine. I nodded. "I woke up only a few months ago. It took me time to recover enough to travel back here." I lowered my gaze, feeling shame. "I wanted to come back sooner, but I couldn't. I am sorry." My father's hand moved to my cheek. His touch was gentle. "You have nothing to apologize for, son. You're alive. That's all that matters." My mother wiped her tears with the edge of her apron, her smile radiant despite her teary face. "Let's close the cafe for the day. My son traveled for an entire day. You must be hungry. Very hungry." "Come on, Zane," she said softly, her voice thick with tears. "Let's go upstairs." Our house is a 2-story building, of first floor being the cafe and the second floor being our home. As my sister took me to the second floor, which held our home, I noticed neatly potted plants lining in the balcony spoke of my mother's flawless care, while the slight creak in the wooden staircase hinted at my father's stubborn refusal to replace anything that still had character. It wasn't anything grand or luxurious, but it was ours. Every inch of the house held memories, some cherished, some painful, but all part of me. Later, as I stood in the steaming bathroom, I heard a faint sound outside the door. I opened it slightly to find Elise sitting on the floor, her back against the wall. "Elise?" I asked, surprised from the other side of the door. I can't leave. What if you disappear again?" she said softly. I crouched down, resting my back against the door. "I'm not going anywhere. You don't understand. For 3 years, I lived every day thinking you were gone. And now you are here, but it feels like a dream. What if I wake up and you're gone again?" I swallowed hard, her voice cutting deep. "I'm here," I said firmly, "and I'll prove it to you every day if I have to." "You better." For the past 15 minutes, Elise had been chatting nonstop. My older sister, just 11 months older than me, was on verge of turning 18. She didn't even pause her chatter while I was in the bath, as if afraid I might vanish the moment she stopped talking. When I finally emerged, we made our way to the dinner table together. It was laden with all my favorite dishes: spiced venison stew, perfectly glazed carrots, and a golden, flaky apple pie that filled the room with its sweet, comforting aroma. As I took my first bite, the tension in the room seemed to melt away. Both my parents and Elise watched me, their faces a mixture of joy and relief, as though seeing me eat was proof that I was really here, that I was truly back. The flavors hit me like a wave, rich and comforting, a perfect harmony of spice and warmth. The tender meat, the fresh vegetables, the subtle hit of herbs, it was perfect. So very perfect. My jaw stilled as I swallowed, as I felt an unfamiliar creeping up in my chest, spreading into my eyes. The tears flowed down my cheek before I even realized. My fork clattered softly against the bowl as I wiped my face, but the tears wouldn't stop. They rolled down my cheeks, hot and continuously. My sister, sitting across from me, leaned forward, her brows knitting together in concern. "Zane, why are you crying?" I shook my head, trying to smile. "I don't know," I added. "Maybe because it's been so long since I felt this, since I felt—" "Idiot, you are crying because you're happy, and now you are making me cry." We all laughed, the sound breaking through the emotional tension. For the first time in years, the house was filled with warmth and laughter. As the conversation turned to lighter topics, Elise proudly pulled out her Nova ID card, her name displayed alongside her rank as a 5-digit hero. Nova is the pinnacle of hero education, an institute renowned for producing the finest rankers. Located in the heart of Frostvile Kingdom, it's more than just a school. It's a place where only the most determined and capable individuals rise to become the ultimate protectors of society. "I'm training to become a hero, just like Hope," she said, her eyes sparkling. I chuckled, the irony almost too much. "You're doing great, Elise," I said, ruffling her hair. "Hey, stop that. I'm the older," my sister said as she proceeds to pat my head. The atmosphere was lighter now. I couldn't help but watch my family as they spoke. My mother pouring another bowl of stew, my mother grumbling about the customers, and my sister beamed with joy as she shared stories about her time at Nova. "Nova, huh? I didn't realize you enrolled." "Of course I did. I wanted to make Mom and Dad proud. After you—" Her voice faltered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. "After everything that happened, I realized I wanted to protect people, just like all other heroes." "Heroes, huh? Could I be one day going back to that?" I had left that life behind and gone into laying low from the Hero Association. But now, hearing the excitement in my sister's voice as she spoke of Nova, I couldn't help but feel a spark of the old fire. Once was a rank 1 hero, feared by many. But now was done. Was that really all? The days of my glory seemed distant, blurred by the pain and confusion that had followed me since that thing took my life. I wasn't the same anymore. How could I be? My body has changed, my powers had evolved, but had my purpose? I looked at my sister. my brave, optimistic sister, and a part of me wanted to smile, to reach out and encourage her. She was already a hero to her own right, and to see her admiring someone like Hope made me proud. She didn't know the true weight of being a hero, the cost of that title, the losses, the sacrifices. I had lived that, and I didn't know if I could ever go back to it. I didn't know if I wanted to. She was still full of hope, still looking up to Hope, who had fought so fiercely, so selflessly. She believed in me, and maybe, just maybe, I could still be that for her. Maybe I could help her avoid the darkness I had fallen into. Zane, her voice brought me back to the moment. Why don't you come to Nova with me? Who knows, maybe you could replace Hope and be my next hero. The words hit me harder than I expected. Maybe this time I can do it differently. I looked at her, at that girl who had always looked up to Hope, to me, and for the first time I saw the path ahead clearly. I had to grow stronger, not just for me, but for her, for my parents, for the world that has unknown threats lingering around. A weight seemed to settle in my chest, but it was different. This time, it wasn't my anger or fear. It was my resolve. I'll go back, not as Hope, but as Zane Skylark. I'll become even stronger. No, even strongest. So strong that even the walls will tremble with the very name of Zane Skylark. End of chapter 5. The decision. Warning, this chapter contains gore elements which may not be suitable for some readers. The sunlight filtered through the white curtains, casting a golden streak across the wooden floor of my old room. The faint chirping of birds greeted me as I got out from the bed. It was a rare moment of peace, something that I hadn't experienced in years. Zane, breakfast! Elise's voice cut through my thoughts, had tone far too energetic for someone who had likely been up since dawn. I rubbed my eyes as I made my way toward the mirror. A faint smile appeared at my face. What's reflected back was me smiling so brightly that it made me question myself if it's actually me. It felt like I could actually let my guard down, at least for now. After washing my face, I made my ways to our cafe where, my mother bustling around the kitchen, and my father chatted with the cafe customers, while Elise setting a table for me as she lined plates of spiced omelets, buttered toast, and freshly brewed coffee. Why are you just standing there? Come and eat. Elise's voice had a usual mix of joy and affection, her hands busy pouring coffee into a mug. I walked over, my steps slow and deliberate, as if enjoying every moment. Good morning, Zane, my father greeted, looking up from a cheerful conversation with one of the customers. You're up early? I shrugged, sitting down at the table Elise had set for me. Thought I'd surprise you. I picked up my fork and cut into the omelet. The first bite hit my tongue, and I couldn't suppress the small sigh of satisfaction. Warm, perfectly spiced, and with just the right amount of salt. She caught on my expression and grinned proudly. Good, right? Delicious. Decent, I said with a straight face, though the twinkle in my eyes gave me away. Decent? She gasped, hands on her kib. I slaved over the omelet. You're lucky I don't. Elise, my mother interrupted from the kitchen, her voice calm but firm. Let him eat in peace. Elise muttered something under her breath but didn't repeat it further. Instead, she grabbed her own plate and joined me at the table. So, she said, her fork pointing at me, I've taken a day off from Nova to show you around the town. Don't you have hero training or something? Please, as if anything is more important than my baby brother's homecoming. I'm just 11 months younger than you. She smirked. Details. Now, hurry, up. Elise's declaration left no room for argument. Before I could protest or even finish my coffee, she had already darted off to grab her jacket. My parents exchanged amused glances, clearly enjoying the rare sight. Go on, my father said with a chuckle. You know she won't give in easily. With a resigned sigh, I pushed my chair and stood. Fine, but if she starts dragging me into every shop, I'm blaming you both. My mother smiled knowingly as she handed me my coat. You'll survive. Elise appeared, practically bouncing on her toes. Ready? Let's go. She grabbed my arm and tugged me toward the door, barely giving me time to put on my coat. The street of Honeyford buzzed with life as Elise dragged me out of the cafe and into the heart of the town. The ice crystal streets were warm underfoot, catching the sunlight delicate glow. Stalls lined the road on both sides, each spilling over with goods. Vendors called out to passing crowds, their voices merging into a harmonious rhythm. The aroma of roasted chestnuts, spiced meats, and honey-glazed pastries blended with the tanginess of sea salt carried in from the distant coast. A woman with fiery red hair, her scarf fluttering in the wind, managed a stall brimming with forged volcanic glass cleary, imported form pyrostone. Nearby, a man with silver hair showcased small wind-powered gadgets from Stormshade, their propellers spinning lazily in the gentle breeze. Elise stopped at a stall selling necklaces made of aquamarine beads. "What do you think?" she asked, holding one up to the light. I glanced at it, noting how the polished stones seemed to shimmer with the faintest trace of Aquador water essence. "It's nice," I said. "Nice? Zane, it's stunning." She tossed a few coins to the vendor who, with his cyan hair and soft features, was unmistakably from Aquador. She slipped the necklace into her bag and turned to me with a grin. "All right, next stop." She grabbed my arm again, dragging me toward the corner of the marketplace where performers had gathered. My eyes wandered as we moved, taking in every little detail of Honeyford. This place felt like a living, extraordinary world, a blend of all the 5 great kingdoms. The 5 kingdoms each thrived on their respective elemental essence, their lands rich with it, their people shaped by it. Frostville, my homeland. Its people had jet black hair just like me. The atmosphere was cold and harsh, its landscapes glistening with eternal ice and snow. It gave birth to those of us who possessed Isiswai's essence, a power that pulsed within our veins and resonated with the world around us. But that was just one corner of the world. Pyrostone was the opposite, a kingdom of roaring flames and searing heat. Its people, red-haired, wielded the fire essence with unmatched precision. Terra Nova, on the other hand, was grounded, literally, a kingdom of vast plains and towering mountains. Its blonde-haired citizens harnessed the stability of earth essence. Stormshade's silver-haired people were the masters of wind essence, living in a kingdom of perpetual storms and high-altitude peaks. And then there was Aquador, a realm of endless water and serenity. The cyan-haired inhabitants, their water essence flowing as fluidly as the tides that shape their coastline. The elemental essence was deeply tied to each kingdom's geography and culture. But there was a catch. If a person left their homeland and moved to another kingdom, their connection to their elemental essence would weaken. It wasn't immediate, nor was it fatal, but over time, the lack of resonance with the land's essence would drain them. That's why most people didn't stray far from home. We're the prisoners of our own essence. But I was different. After that explosion, when the Hero Association took me in, I found out that I can use all the elemental essence, and leaving my home doesn't affect me no matter how far I go. Even if I left Frostville and settled in Pyrostone, then instead of ice essence, the fire essence will provide me strength. Sure enough, my ice elemental will be weakened, but my fire elemental will become even stronger. This is the power I possess, and I think that's the reason why none of the heroes from Hero Association can come even close to rival me. Because my essence will never be weakened. I'm the only one in this world who is loved by all the elementals. Zane, are you even listening? Elise's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. Huh? I blinked, realizing we had stopped in front of a small stall selling grilled meat skewers. She shoved one into my hand. Try this. The aroma hit me first, smoky and rich. I bit into it, the flavor exploding on my tongue. This is amazing. Told you, she said, grinning triumphantly. I took another bite, savoring the moment. Then I saw them, a group of 4 red-haired individuals, their movements too deliberate, too calculated. A girl with crimson hair around my age, her delicate frame being dragged into a narrow alley by one of the men. Her wide, terrified eyes darted around, seeking for help, but the bustling crowd seemed to unnotice. A kidnapping? In a broad daylight? Elise, I need to... I paused, searching for an excuse. I need to use the restroom. Be right back. She raised an eyebrow. Don't take forever. I'm timing you. I slipped into the shadows. My movements were quick and silent. The narrow alley reeked of damp stone and decay. The girl struggled against one of the men, her voice muffled by a gloved hand. Let her go, I said, my voice cold and commanding. And The group turned, their expressions shifting from surprise to amusement. The man holding the girl sneered. "Look what we have here. A little rat trying to play hero." I stepped forward, my gaze locked on to his. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." The woman to his left chuckled, drawing a sword. "Oh, we'll see about that." She proceeds to unleash her essence. "Sorry to bring it to you, kid. As you can see, I'm from Pirestone. A worse nightmare for your frostfile kind. Flame bullet. Distortion." I said with no emotions, unleashing my essence the moment she activated hers, causing the elemental flow in the area to waver. The kidnapper's weapons and powers halted as they stumble in confusion. "What the? My fire isn't working." "Hey, brat, what did you—" Click, swoosh. Before the man finished his sentence, I took the katana from my inventory ring. As my hand moved with lightning speed, my strike sliced vertically at the man, causing him to split in half from his head down to his crouch. Blood sprayed everywhere as his guts began to spill out from the cut. His brownish brain matter dropped in, making a splash sound as it lays flat on the ground. The very scene makes other three question their very decision as they trembled with uneasiness. I smirk. "Didn't I warn you? You're in my territory now." "Ooh, who are you? That was triple-digit hero. A brat like you. That easily—" the woman said in disbelief as she pointed her sword at me with her trembling hand. Click! I once again drew the katana from its sheath and slashed, severing both of the woman's hands. Blood gushed from the wounds, revealing jagged red veins, torn flesh, and the sickening sight of yellowish red bone marrow glistening in the light. Swoosh! Well, ugh! Before she finished her scream, I cut down her mouth with a fine slice of my blade. Her teeth and tongue laid bare dangled from her torn open mouth. She fell to her knees as I proceeded to push the tip of my katana to one of her eye socket. After inserting my blade to her eye, I made my wrist twist as to rotate my entire blade while it's in her head. As I pulled it back, red color blood began to flow out from her once called eye with a slight mixture of light brownish color liquid. The other two onlookers held their breath as they witnessed this gruesome scene. They both hesitantly backed away as they began to run away. But before they could, I made an arc in the air with my blade. Swoosh! Which caused their leg to leave behind, as their entire body fell forward, missing both of their legs. Egg! Please, don't kill m— they both said in unison. But before they finished, I made a final slice with my blade, removing the top 1/4 portion of their head. Both the bodies fell forward as their half-brains began to flow out, still slightly beating for the last time. Then my eyes finally focused on the crimson-haired girl as she witnessing all this with a face of disbelief, disgust, and fear. As I looked at her, she began to back away a bit. I mean no harm to you, I said, assuring her safety. She stared at me like a ghost, but before she even reacts, a man hiding on roof of a house tried to attack her. Fireball. Fire bullet, I said, cutting his words, pointing my katana at him. The tip of my katana glowed with red flame concentrating as it formed a tiny dot, which I shot right through that man's head, which took his life. You are safe now. There's no any threat, I said, once again assuring her safety for real this time. Who are you, Wekwe? Stammered, she asked. I hesitate for a moment, taking in her appearance. She's not a threat, that much is clear, but the question lingers in the air, wrapping itself around me like a tightening rope. Who was I now? As I offer her my hand, just someone passing by. My voice is calm, even, as if brushing off the gravity of the situation. She hesitates briefly before taking my hand, her fingers cold but steady. You look like you could have handled it eventually, I said, though my tone carries a hint of teasing. She smiles faintly, though the tension in her shoulders still remains. I'm Anna Ashbourne. Ashbourne, a prominent noble family known for its influence in Pirestone. Their crimson-haired tales were practically legends. I remember reading about them once. You're a long way from Pirestone, Anna, I remarked. Her smile faded. It's complicated, she admits, looking down for a moment. My family's caught up in a rivalry with another noble. I thought I could handle it on my own, but clearly, her voice trails off and she gestures to the silent battlefield. I exhaled slowly, pushing my own thoughts aside. Next time, don't make it so easy for them. She nods, her crimson hair falling over her face. I'll remember that. There's a pause, a fragile silence that hangs between us. Then Anna looked up to me, her amber eyes shining with curiosity. What about you? She asks. You haven't told me your name yet. This could be the first step, a small one, but a step nonetheless. Zane, my name's Zane, but keep it to yourself, all right? Anna blinks, surprised by my sudden response. Zane, she repeated, as if trying the name out for herself. Her lips curve into a small smile. Thank you again, Zane. Truly. If there's ever anything I can do to repay you, there's no need. Of course, if that's what you want. If it's okay, can I ask you something? Go ahead. How can you able to use a fire bullet? I mean, you have black hair, clearly. You're a Frostvile citizen. It basically defies the known theory. That's also a secret. Keep it to yourself, Kay? All right. Only the Hero Association knows about me, able to use all 5 elementals. But to general public, this information was classified. So for Anna, it would be hard for her to guess that I was Hope. It's time for me to go. Take care. Anna. With that, I vanished to the roof of a nearby building, watching Anna one last time before meeting with my sister. When I returned to the stall, Elise was waiting, arms crossed. 21 minutes and 47 seconds, she declared. What took you so long? Were you building the restroom or something? I smirked. Let's just say I got distracted. She rolled her eyes, laughing. You're impossible. As we walked back home, her laughter echoing in the streets. I made my decision. And with that, I declared it to my sister. I will join Nova. End of chapter, chapter 6. Processing admission, Nova Inevan Academy. To truly embody power and skill, a person needs some level of education in their respective domain. It wasn't enough to simply have natural talent or raw ability. Knowledge and learning were essential to refine those gifts. As the institute that stands before me in the heart of the Frostvile Kingdom, where I hail from, Nova, is the dream of many people who aims for the top. And here I am standing before the very gates of such a prestigious place. The large gate leading to the academy, with its gleaming crystalline white surface, stood as a castle on its own. Behind it, the towering structure of Nova reached skyward, almost resembling Frostvile Mountain, as if daring to touch the clouds. Its imposing presence made people around awe-inspiring, even for someone like me. As the crowd of students ahead of me buzzed with nervous excitement, I, on the other hand, had a simpler goal, laying low. When I crossed few passing students as I overheard murmurs among them. New batches have already started just 2 days ago, someone said. They wanted to fill out the remaining seats at last minutes. Typical Nova move, someone added. It wasn't long before I reached the registration desk, where a stern-looking proctor sat with a clipboard on a desk. Name? Zane Skylark, I replied, keeping my tone neutral. At the sound of my name, a few heads turned. I could hear whispers behind me. It's because of Elise's reputation. Skylark? Is he related to Elise Skylark? Wait, you mean the Elise Skylark? That prodigy second year? I ignored them, though their stares still fixed on me. The proctor stamped my registration form without looking up and handed me a card bearing my application number, 128. The admission test will be processed in 3 different phases. First, the elemental affinity test following with practical test, and lastly, a written test. Candidates have to clear all the phases to get accepted in Nova. Proceed to the elemental testing hall, one of the proctors shouted. After making my ways to the affinity testing house, which was massive, a dome-shaped room with walls made of shimmering crystal. At its center stood a pedestal, holding a glowing diamond slab, radiating mixture of all 5 elemental essence. Candidate number 1, place your hand above the slab. The slab analyzed their essence, displaying their elemental affinity, compatibility, and potential as glowing screen above the pedestal. A tall, silver-haired boy stepped forward. His silver hair suggested he hailed from Stormshade, a region known for producing wind affinity elites. He placed his hand on the slab, and the numbers appeared. Affinity, wind compatibility, 82% potential, high. The room almost instantly buzzed with admiration. An 82% compatibility, incredible. Next, a fiery red-haired boy from Pyrestone approached. He exerted a sense of confidence as he placed his hand on the slab, and his results didn't disappoint. Affinity, fire, compatibility, 79% potential, high. When my name was called, the murmurs returned, from the corner of my eye as I noticed a group of seniors observing me from the balcony. Their sharp gazes made my pulse quicken. No doubt they were comparing me to Elise Skylark, the prodigious model student of Nova. I approached the slab, steadying my breath. As I placed my hand on its cool surface, I quickly manipulated the surrounding elemental essence, masking my essence as only ice and potential to my desire. As my hand touched the slab, a faint frost shimmered across its surface, masking the chaotic energy beneath. Only ice, nothing else. The number flashed. Affinity, ice, compatibility, 57% potential. Average. The crowd and the seniors from the balcony made their face displeased, which was exactly what I wanted. That's not bad. For Elise Skylark's brother, it's a bit underwhelming. As I ignored the comments and stares, making way towards the practical hall. The practical test was held in an outdoor arena filled with stationary and moving targets attached to drone. Candidates were required to demonstrate control over their elemental affinity and combat skill. "Candidate number 32, come forward," said one of the proctors. A girl with cyan hair, clearly from Ecuador, made her way to the stage as she stands in front of the stationary target, extending her hand. Water bullets. The water particles gather on her palm as she shots it towards the target, destroying it completely. Did she just cast her spell without absorbing the water essence? For casting a spell, let's say a fire bullet, one has to make contact with its surrounding, fire essence, by completely absorbing it into one's body. Then by concentrating at single point, one can able to perfectly cast the spell. But that girl just righteously skipped the absorbing process. She directly manipulated the water essence around and gathered it to her palm, then just shot the target. I don't think anyone noticed it, as elemental essence are not visible to anyone unless you are one of the single-ranked hero. That was quite interesting. Candidate number 128. When my turn came, I focused solely on my ice essence, ensuring my other abilities remained hidden. Ice arrow, I conjured spears of ice, shooting them at the stationary targets with pinpoint accuracy. Ice field. For the final challenge, I froze the entire moving drone mid-air, shattering it completely alongside the target. I hope they don't charge me for the drone. The proctors and the candidates nodded in approval. While my performance wasn't flashy, it was calculated and effective, just like I wanted it to be. As the new batch already started 2 days ago, there are only few seats remained. And to claim one of those seats, I have to somehow get into top 5 score. The murmurs died down instantly as we made our ways for the final written test. The written exam was held in a grand hall with long rows of wooden desks. The question ranged from monsters' anatomy to various theories in essence. I have to get all the questions correct to get a top 5 rank in written test, or else I won't get selected in Nova. As the proctors handed the question paper to me, I couldn't help but to smirk slightly as I read through the paper. They are all easy. There are a total of 3 questions, and the time constraint is only 2 hours. As I read the first question, what are the origin of creature called howls? What is their elemental essence? The first question seems pretty easy. It only took me 5 minutes to answer it. I wrote a detailed description of 3 pages defining howls, its elemental essence, its origin, its relation with other elementals. I wrote everything I knew of them. Of course, I didn't include some information which only the Hero Association and the top heroes know. Moving on to the second question. What are elemental essence? How would one interact with it? I answered it, a total of 2 pages defining what actually elemental essence is to the different elemental essence, and how would one interact with it. Till now, all the questions they have asked, I have answered it without any problem. I looked around from my desk, analyzing others as some made nervous face, some scribbling like crazy, and some writing with calm and composed face. Third question. Why does 5 kingdoms have different flow of elemental essence in its atmosphere? Justify your answer. What a strange thing to ask. The last question was a bit too much to ask in an admission test. This should be more towards research-oriented. Anyways, the good point is this question is only asking candidates their thoughts, impossible answers. As such, I have my own theory regarding it, and there's actually not one but 6 different theories I have come up with. There are multiple factors which affects a kingdom's elemental essence, but the short and simple answer to the question would be quantum entanglement. And you know what's the fun part in all this is? You can even alter your kingdom's elemental essence, if my theory is to be proven correct. Let us proceed with an example. Suppose there exists a world, and that world contains only 2 elemental essence, the light essence and the shadow essence. Now the 2 kingdoms possessing each differ in functionality due to quantum entanglement, like connection that binds their world, but also creating a contrasting state of balance and influence. This entanglement causes the essence in each kingdom to mirror, oppose, or influence each other, resulting in their unique natures and roles. Now the question arises, why did the essence exist in such a manner? The 2 kingdoms are entangled on a quantum level, meaning that the satiety of one kingdom influences the other. This interconnection creates a dualistic nature for the elemental essences, creating an opposite reflection of one already existing essence. It took me a whole 20 minutes to complete my written test. After finished writing, I make a quick scan before calling out to the proctor. I'm done. The whole classroom looked at me as I made my way toward one of the proctors to submit my answer sheet. Are you sure? You still have more than half time left. Yes. After the test, I headed to the cafeteria where my sister Elise told me, come after getting over with the tests. The smell of the food was tempting. The students sitting and chatting joyfully within groups as they enjoyed their food. I spotted Elise almost immediately. She was sitting with her group of friends. After noticing me walking towards her, Zane! Elise waved me over, her face beaming with joy. I approached, trying not to feel self-conscious. Her friends were all older. How'd the test go? Elise asked, her tone casual but curious. Decent, I spoke. Nothing too crazy. Huh, what does that mean? Hello, I am Aria Thronewood, one of her friends, a blonde-haired, clearly from Terra Nova, chuckled. So you're Elise's little brother? I'm Albert Ashbourne. Lifting his hand, Albert, with crimson-red hair, greeted me. Ashbourne? I'm Lyra Lirwin. Nice to meet you. Lyra, with cyan hair, greeted me. Celestria Hearth. Nice to meet you, Celestria said, making a surprised face as she's scanning me from head to toe. Did I meet her somewhere? I'm Zane Skylark. Thanks for taking care of my sister, I replied. Elise never shuts up talking about you, you know. She says you're her cute baby brother. Lyra said, laughing, pointing at my sister. I'm only 11 months young. Here it is, someone shouted. The results were in. The ranks appeared one by one, and my heart pounded as I searched for my name. When I finally found it, I froze. Elemental Essence Test, rank 357 points. Practical Exam, rank 102, 81 points. Written Test, rank 1, 100 points. Fuck, just my rotten luck. You got a perfect score? Elise said, looking stunned, her voice loud enough to draw attention. Then that means you got the last answer correct? I shrugged, trying to look modest. It wasn't that hard. Not that hard. Albert leaned forward, his expression bewildered. Do you even know what that last question was? It repeated every year, and most of us, none ever got it correct. Not only Albert, but even Aria, Lyra, and Celestria seemed surprised. I looked at my sister for her help. The questions kept coming, and I did my best to deflect them. Elise, to her credit, looked half proud and half curious herself. Finally, she held her helping hands. All right, everyone, give him a break. Zane, we're talking about this later. As the excitement died down, I let myself relax. Today had been a success. My admission in Nova was official. End of Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Nova 1. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the collar of my black shirt. The uniform of Nova was simple yet elegant, black from head to toe, from the fitted shirt and pants to the belt at my waist where a small dimension pouch was securely attached. On my wrist, a sleek-looking wristband embedded with microcomputer, its surface engraved with complex designs. And finally, a black trench coat having Nova's emblem engraved on its left chest, symbolizing my status as a Nova Academy student. All the accessories are enchanted. I ran a hand through my dark hair, tilting my head to study my reflection. The uniform wasn't bad, but there was something off. Maybe it was the way the dark color made my already pale complexion seem even more crisp. I couldn't quite tell. "You look ridiculous," I muttered to my reflection before smirking faintly. "Well, better get used to it." I grabbed my bag and headed downstairs. The aroma of freshly baked bread spread through the air as I entered our cafe. My parents were serving the customers at their table, chatting about something I didn't bother to catch. "Morning, Mom. Morning, Dad." I greeted both of them, taking on an empty table. "Morning, Zane," my father greeted. "Morning," my mother said, placing a plate of eggs and toast in front of me. "Elise already left. Second-year classes starts earlier than yours. That's why it's quiet today." I nodded, keeping my focus on my food. Breakfast was delicious as always, just the usual chatter. My mind was already racing ahead to what lay ahead me. Today's marks my very first day as an official Nova student. The train station was bustling with people, but it seems even amidst the crowd I stood out. Or rather, the uniform did. I could feel the stares of passerby as I walked down the platform. "Look, he's from Nova," someone murmured. "He must be a genius. And he is kinda hot," some girl said to her group of friends. "Oh, he looked at me." I kept my gaze forward, pretending not to notice. Nova has its benefits, and one of them is all the transportation are free of cost for their students. The ether rail to Frostville City was smooth. Outside the window, the snowy landscape stretched endlessly. Frostville City was the main capital of the Frostville Kingdom. The city was a sight to behold. Keeping a check on time, I arrived at the campus of Nova. The academy looked more like a fortress than a school, its stone walls stretched with glowing runes. Checking my watch, which displayed, after checking the info on the bulletin board, I made my way toward my classroom. The students passing by wore similar black outfit as mine. The uniform was same even for the opposite gender. You can't even tell the difference. Standing in front of the classroom was a gigantic wooden door, as I can hear faint chatter sound from the opposite end. Pushing open the door, I made my way in. All the chartered halted. Everyone's eye landed on me as I walked past the front row. The classroom was your typical lecture hall seating arranged on a climbed stairs. The interiors were all wooden furnished, which gives quite the aesthetic look to the classroom. After scanning the area, I found a quiet seat at the very back, but there's already a girl seating, looking outside the window. "Is the seat taken? Can I sit he—" And then our eyes met, shocked. Crimson hair framed her face. It took me a second to recognize her. Anna Ashbourne, the girl I have saved from those kidnappers not too long ago. Just my rotten luck. "You." She recognized me too. Her lips parted. I quickly looked away, pretending not to notice. Hey, wait, why are you leaving?" Due to her loud remark, all the gazes earlier intensified as murmur began to spread. No time running, I suppose. "Miss, can I sit here?" "Huh? Yeah, please," Anna said, moving slightly. What?" "The class is starting. We can talk later," I whispered to her politely. She hesitated, then nodded, but the brief exchange seemed to spark even more whispers. I ignored them. The teacher entered the room shortly after, her presence commanding intense attention. "All right, class, quiet down," she began. "I'm your history of elemental teacher, as well as your homeroom teacher for the entire 4 year you will spend at the academy. My name is Monica Montessa." She was a silver-haired lady in her late 30s, her sharp blue gaze swiping across the class as if memorizing every face. Due to the late admission process to fill the empty seats, we've had a few individuals join us recently. As a result, today's class will be a recap of the material we've covered over the past 2 days. Without wasting any minute, she began her teaching. I stayed quiet, observing my surroundings and listening to her. The material she covered was undoubtedly fascinating, but it was nothing new to me. I had already mastered this knowledge. Anna, however, was entirely focused in the lesson, scribbling down every word Miss Monica says. Now, Miss Monica said, pausing to survey the room, tell me this. Is it possible, and if so, what would happen if a kingdom were to lose its elemental essence completely? The question hung in the air. Few raised their hands, Anna including. Interesting question, I thought, leaning against my seat. With the right answer, Miss Monica added, her lips curling into a faint smile, you'll earn credit points. Julius, you may speak. At Miss Monica's prompt, Julius, who has blonde hair, stood up with a smug expression. With all due respect, Professor Monica, it's entirely impossible for a kingdom to suddenly lose its elemental essence, at least according to known theories. His smirk widened as he continued, and even if it were to happen, such a kingdom would lose all its value. The people would eventually perish, as a kingdom's elemental essence is directly tied to its living creatures. In the end, only the 4 great kingdoms would remain standing. What a shitty answer, I thought, unimpressed. Miss Monica, too, seemed unpleased. Well, Julius, your hypothesis is full of loopholes. You may sit. Anyone else? All the hands that had eagerly shot up moments ago now hung limply by their owners' sides. You with the black hair? Miss Monica said, her sharp gaze locking onto mine. A faint smile appeared on her lips. Care to share your answer? Just my rotten luck. I stood up, glancing at her. Miss Monica intrigued me. She seemed more like a genuine researcher than just a teacher, someone with a solid grasp of her field. Her teachings held a certain depth, and I couldn't help but feel a pull to share my knowledge with her, to exchange thoughts on elementals with her. Let's just go for it. Raising my head with confidence in my voice, I explained, the short and simple answer to your question is, the whole world would perish. A heavy silence fell over the room. Miss Monica's brows arched slightly, her interest clearly piqued. And what makes you say that, Zane Skylark, I said without hesitation. According to my hypothesis, the elemental essence of one kingdom is closely connected to that of the others. If one were to collapse, the balance dictated by the laws of equivalence would cause the others to fall as well. I was preparing to present the full breadth of my theory, but Miss Monica quickly interrupted me, holding up a hand. Stop. Tell me, Mr. Skylark, are you the one who got a full marks in his written examination? The classroom erupted into a flurry of murmurs. Is she serious? Did he actually answer the final question? Someone whispered. Even professors struggle with that one. Silence, class, Miss Monica commanded, bringing the chatter to a halt. Yes, I replied calmly. She studied me for a moment before nodding. It seems we're out of time. Mr. Skylark, if you're available, I'd like to discuss your hypothesis further one day. I would love to have your opinion on my theories, Miss Monica, I said, offering her a small smile. As the bell rang, the classroom roared into bigger murmur. I ignored them, gathering my things, as the classroom door burst open. A man dressed in a butler's uniform stepped inside, his gaze sweeping the room before landing on mine. Zane Skylark, he announced, his voice formal. The headmistress requests your presence in her office. The murmurs grew louder as I stood, my confusion mirrored in my curious faces. Why would the headmistress want to see me? Walking down the academy's wooden corridors, I mulled over the possibilities. The interior of Nova was elegant, its craftsmanship a testament to the academy's prestige. Standing before the massive wooden door of the headmistress's office, I felt my mind race. Was it about the written test? Maybe I shouldn't have answered that last question, but I couldn't help myself. The moment I saw an unsolved question about the world's elemental essence, my curiosity had taken over. Knock. Come in, a sweet voice called from the other end. The headmistress's office was as grand as I'd expected. Shelves lined with books and artifacts filled the space. A large desk sat in the center, framed by a massive window that overlooked the academy grounds. Behind the desk stood a woman looking outside the window as if overlooking the entire Nova. She was tall, with sharp features and a confident posture. Her crimson hair, a shade darker than Anna's, fell in loose waves down her back. She was a beauty, no less around her late 20s. Is this the headmistress? I wondered. She seemed far too young, likely in her late 20s, to hold such a position. With a quick glance, I could tell that she is strong. Far too strong, if I have to point out how strong. Then without a doubt I could say, currently in Nova no one can come close to her. Excluding me, of course. Zane Skylark, she said, turning around, her voice smooth and commanding. Or should I call you Hope? My blood froze. End of Chapter 7. Chapter 8, Nova. Hope, the headmistress repeated. Her voice carries a mix of familiarity and authority. She turned to face me fully. Her crimson hair shines brightly, catching the light streaming from the large window behind her. Every muscle in my body tensed as I instinctively reached for my katana, summoning from my dimension pouch on my belt. The black blade appeared on my hand. I shifted into a battle stance. My sharp gaze looked into her. How do you know that name? I demanded, my voice cold and cautious. A storm of thoughts surged into my mind. Was it a guess? Or does she actually know who I am? The headmistress, no, this woman, stood there unfazed, a small, amused smile curling on her lips. As she raised her hands in a gesture of peace, her expression was calm. Relax, Zane, she said lightly, her voice carrying a strange familiarity. Don't you recognize me? I stiffened, my grip tightening on the katana. My mind raced, searching for any possible connection. Her voice, I think I heard it before. But where exactly? Seeing my confusion, she chuckled softly and reached into the ring on her finger, a dimension ring. From it, she withdrew a simple white mask and placed it over her face. Now, she said, her voice slightly muffled by the mask. Do you recognize me? The sight of that mask hit me like a lightning bolt. I took a step back, lowering my blade but not letting go of it. Pride? The words escaped my mouth before I could stop it. Her smile widened as she pulled her mask back off, revealing her sharp feature. Took you long enough, she said. Hero name, Pride. The rank 7 hero of the Hero Association. My training companion, my comrade, my friend. You're the headmistress? My voice was filled with disbelief. Ruby Oliver, at your service, she replied with a mocking bow like a curtain call. Surprised? Surprised like hell. Surprise didn't even begin to describe it. Pride, or rather Ruby, had been one of the very few who knew my identity. Back in the Hero Association, some heroes altered their features for anonymity, while others wore masks. I had done both, for extra precaution. But Pride had always known. She, along with our master, had been aware of the truth beneath my facade. My thoughts spiraled further as I stared at her. Back then, when the association found me after the explosion, my hair had turned silver for some unknown reasons. But as I gained control over my elemental essence, it had gradually reverted to its natural black. For the sake of privacy, though, I had kept it silver the entire time I was Hope. Despite the changes, Ruby had recognized me in an instant. How, I managed to ask. I'd recognize you anywhere, she said with a teasing voice, folding her arms. But that's not the question we should be discussing right now, is it? What I want to know is, what happened to you? Why are you hiding from the Hero Association? And who is there, a new Hope, taking your place? Her questions cut through me, each one hitting a nerve. For a moment I was hesitated, unsure of if I should reveal everything. I had known her for the past 3 years. We were in the same boat, enduring that painful year of harsh training together. She was my companion through it all, the one who consoled me when I broke down from the strain. She had always been someone I trusted, someone who had walked the same grueling path as I. If there was anyone in the entire Hero Association I could confide in, it was her. Sigh. Taking a deep breath, I began. I told her everything, the ambush, the mysterious figure with golden blood who had killed me, my skill immortality, the Hero Association's betrayal, the new hope they had put in my place. Every detail spilled out, and with each word the weight on my chest grew lighter. I felt revived. Ruby listened to every my word, her expression growing darker with each revelation. By the time I finished, her fists were clenched, her crimson eyes blazing with fury. They betrayed you, she said, her voice low but beaming with anger. How dare they? Those bastard! Her reaction was enough to reassure me that I had made the right choice. The right choice that she was a trustworthy friend. Immortality, you say? Yeah, it was there when I woke up, and I don't even know what it actually does. Before we know what that skill is, don't you dare use it. Who knows, it might be connected to that golden blood entity. Sure, thanks for the warning. And you don't have to worry, Ruby said after a moment, her voice softening. You're safe with me. I'll make sure no one at Nova learns the truth, and I promise you that no one from Hero Association will ever gets to know about you. Thanks, Ruby. It's Headmaster Ruby To You. You are at Nova now. Get back to your class before anyone gets suspicious. Yeah, Headmistress Ruby. I nodded again and turned my back to leave. Suddenly, Ruby hugged me from behind, her soft cheeks pressing onto mine. It made me feel really happy. I'm glad you are safe. I will keep you safe. Don't do everything on your own. You can really on me. And I am sorry, sniff, sniff. I am so sorry. Sniff. I didn't come to your aid. Sniff, sniff. For 2 whole months you were in that dark place. You must be scared. Really scared. You were always scared of the dark. Ruby faintly whispered, clinging to me, sobbing like a little girl. It makes my heart ached. Yeah, I was scared. Scared of not able seeing the faces of people I love. Okay, now, go back. Your classes are about to start. Wiping her tears, her face blushing. As I walked out of her office, I realized that I was smiling like crazy. I felt a little lighter. I don't want to see her cry again. To protect her smile, to keep everyone safe, I have to get stronger. And when that mysterious entity appears again, I will make sure it knows what actually Zane Skylark is. I will let it know what fear actually is. I will let it know what pain is. I promised myself. Checking my watch, I got to know the second class was Weapon Mastery, and it's held on training ground. As I entered the training hall, a hush fell over the students. Conversations that once buzzed through the air died down, replaced by the whispers and sidelong glances in my direction. Isn't that the guy the headmistress called over? Yeah, what do you think it was about? Maybe he's in trouble. Or maybe he's someone important? I, on the other hand, kept my expression neutral, my footsteps steady as I made my way to a corner of the hall. I could feel their eyes on me, but I chose to ignore the murmurs. Leaning against the wall, I waited for the class to begin. However, the silence didn't last long. A group of 3 students broke away from the crowd, their gazes locked onto me. They walked with a cocky swagger, their smirks betraying their intentions. I don't want to deal with it now. The leader of the group, a tall blonde-haired boy who looked like he came straight from Terra Nova, stepped forward. Hey you, he called out, his tone sharp and mocking. I glanced at him but said nothing. The blonde boy's smirk widened as he came closer, sided by his 2 companions. So what did the headmistress want with you, huh? My eyes narrowed slightly, but I remained calm. That's none of your business, I replied coolly. The blonde boy's smirk halted, replaced by a flash of annoyance. None of my business, huh? Don't act all high and mighty just because Miss Monica said something nice about you. That doesn't make you special, you bookworm. What do you think you're doing? Anna, who was looking from the side, stepped forward, her presence commanding enough to make the group hesitate. Her fiery red hair seemed to glow under the training hall's light as she glared at the blonde boy. Tisk, let's go. My mood is ruined, the boy said as he walked toward the other classmates. I didn't need the help, but thanks, I spoke. I know, I was worrying about them anyways. Why did you come to Nova? To train and get stronger, I guess. Eh? Strong you? Do you want to take over the planet or something? Without any realization, I began to laugh. Beside Ruby, none ever made me laugh before. As I thought that, Ruby's crying face appeared in my mind. Ruby's sobs echoed in my mind. I couldn't let anyone else carry my burdens, not her, not anyone. It was my fight, and I will make sure I keep my promise. End of Chapter 8. Chapter 9, Hidden Intentions. Nova Training Hall. Hey, everyone's watching. Why did you suddenly burst out like that? Anna said, her voice was a bit shaky. You really have a knack for making people laugh, don't you? I said, still chuckling after Anna's absurd comment that I wanted to take over the planet. Anna crossed her arms and rolled her eyes. Well, excuse me for trying to be funny, but you still haven't answered my question. Why did you come to Nova? To train and get stronger, of course, I replied. Stronger, huh? She muttered, raising her eyebrow. You're already strong enough to save me from 4 triple-ranked kidnapper. So what's the deal? Nothing. Before I could respond, the massive door of training hall creaked open, silencing every whisper and chatter. A tall man with cyan hair walked into the room, making his way to the podium. His aquamarine eyes scanned the crowd, and his voice boomed across the hall. Students, I am Lucas Vane, your instructor for weapon mastery. At the mention of his name, the hall erupted into murmurs. Wait, that's Lucas Vane? He's the 176th ranked hero. I once heard he stopped a tidal wave with nothing but a spear. No, he stopped the wave with his bare hands. You all are wrong. He stopped it with just his pinky. I once heard he can swim like a fish. No, you idiot. He is the fish. Silence! Professor Lucas shouted, rubbing his temples. Sigh. What am I witnessing here? Sigh. I ignored the noise, though I couldn't help but feel a flicker of admiration. Lucas Vane was no ordinary hero. A 176th rank might not sound impressive, but when there are tens of thousands of registered heroes, it's no small feat, and I mean it. Addressing the hall, Lucas instructed, Today, you'll choose your weapon, the weapon that will define you as a future hero. Approach the weapon racks, make your choice, and register it with your wristband. Once registered, it will be recorded as your official weapon. Choose wisely, as it will become your lifetime companion. With that, I made my ways inside the weaponry room. Rows of weapon racks lined the walls, showcasing every imaginable type of weapon. My gaze drifted over swords, spears, bows, daggers, and even to the weird weapons like scythes and chakras. I have to make my choice. Okay, Zane, focus. What do you want? The answer was obvious. My eyes landed on a sleek-looking katana with a black sheath in silver accents. I walked toward it, my fingers brushing against the hilt. Ah, katana. The embodiment of elegance and lethality. How could I not pick one? A sly grin formed at my lips as I lifted the blade. All right, I admit it. I have a thing for katanas. They're sharp, they're cool, and let's be honest, every badass in history has wielded one at some point. Picking it up, I scanned the katana with my wristband, watching as a holographic display projected the registration details. Zane Skylark. Weapon katana. Registered. Besides me, Anna picked up a sleek Swiss saber registering it with her wristband. A saber, huh? Not bad, I commented. What? Are you the only one who's allowed to pick something stylish? She shot back with a smirk. Once everyone finished registering their weapon, Professor Lucas addressed the class. Weapon Master is not just about welding a weapon. It's about understanding its essence and making it an extension of yourself. Now make a pair of 2 and begin your practice. That will be it for today. The students quickly paired off. Anna hesitated for a moment before turning to me. Want to pair up? Sure. We both moved to the side of the hall, giving each other some space. Ready when you are, I asked. As we began, I couldn't help but notice her form was slightly off balance. Your grip is too tight, and you are leaning way too much, I said, stepping closer. Loosen it a bit, or you'll tire yourself out too quickly. Anna frowned but adjusted her stance. How do you know so much? You're just the same age as me. I smiled, reflecting her questions. Just normal practice. And how do you able to use fire elementals? That's not normal at all. Her questions caught me off guard. Lucky genes, I guess. For the entire time Anna interviewed me, I was successfully able to dodge all her questions. And with that, the class ended soon after. As I packed up, I headed towards the cafeteria. Anna followed me behind. Mind if I join you? She asked. I guess she's the type who doesn't have any friends. I glanced at her. Sure. We together made our ways to the cafeteria. Anna walking beside me was getting a lot of gazes from the other students. We grabbed trays and picked up our food, meat, rice, salad, and some sauce, before finding a seat. So, Anna began, do you live in the dorms or are you a local? I live in Honeyford with both my parents and my sister. I said, talking a bite. Wait, Anna said, her eyes narrowing. Your sister? Is Elise Skylark your sister? Yeah, I said, surprised she knew. As if summoned, Elise walked into the canteen and beside her was Albert Ashbourne. She spotted me immediately and waved, her grin widening as she made a run toward us. Hello, my dear baby brother, she said, clinging on to me, her eyes darting to Anna. Who's this, your friend? Or, don't tell me, your girlfriend. But today is your first day, you player. Cough, cough, cough. Both Anna and I nearly choked on our food. She's not. I'm not. Pfft. Ha ha ha. Elise burst into laughter. Relax, I'm just teasing. So what's your name? Anna Ashbourne. Nice to meet you. Oh my, Anna, what a cute name. I have heard so much about you from Albert. Thanks for being friends with my brother. Before I could retort, Albert appeared behind her, his expression as stern as ever. His eyes landed on Anna for a moment before he turned to Elise. Ashbourne. Well, they are related. We don't have time for this, Albert said. We need to make preparation. For what? I asked without thinking. Elise hesitated before whispering enough for us to hear. It's a secret, but... The Rank 3 hero is visiting Nova soon. Why would he be coming here? Did they find out? No, that's not possible, right? Elise, you shouldn't have said that, Albert scolded her, dragging her away. Bye, Zane. Bye, Anna, Elise called out as they left. The Rank 3 hero. My mind was already racing. If it's not because of me, then for what? Or for who? Hero Association HQ. In a clean, spotless office, two figures faced each other in silence. The first figure was Marcus, the president of the Hero Association, seating in his sleek leather chair with his fingers interlocked. His calculating eyes watched the figure standing before him. Rank 3 hero, Glory. Glory's status as a Rank 3 hero was nothing in front of this man named Marcus, an undeniably powerful man. His piercing gaze never lost as Marcus slid a crisp sheet of paper across the polished desk. On the paper was a report, complete with a photo of a striking woman around her early 20s with crimson hair. It's none other than Ruby Oliver. Keep an eye on Ruby Oliver, Marcus ordered, his voice as cold as the room's temperature. Why, isn't she the headmistress of Nova? Glory raised an eyebrow. He is not currently wearing a mask in front of Marcus, unlike other heroes. Why does this puny task require the need of someone like me? The question was not out of the line. Why would the Hero Association need him? A Rank 3 hero to keep an eye out for a headmistress of Nova. It's like catching a butterfly with a jet plane. Read the whole report, Marcus snapped, and do as you were told. After completely scanning the report and the information in it, Glory was surprised, genuinely surprised. My God, she is Pride. That Pride, the Rank 7 hero. Now he understands why Marcus needs the assist of him, using fire to control fire. I want every move she makes reported back directly to me. Every action, every word. No matter how insignificant it seems, it's a confidential mission. Do not disclose it. Or else, Glory's lips tightened into a thin line. He appears very submissive in front of Marcus. The silence tightened between them, taut with tension, before Glory finally gave a nod. Understood. Once the door clicked shut, Marcus smirked, speaking to the empty air. What do you think of him? A shadow shifted in the corner, and from the darkness emerged a figure cloaked in mystery. The figure's appearance was abnormally resembled to that of the former Rank 1 hero, Hope. The same silver hair gleamed under the light, and the black mask hid his cold eyes. He'll do, the new Hope said. His voice contains no warmth or emotions. Marcus's smirk widened as he tapped his finger on his tab. Information about Nova appeared on his display, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Let's see how it goes. End of chapter, chapter 10, Finding Answers. The lunch break ended. Both Anna and I moved to our classroom, talking our seats. The third period was monster analysis. The classroom buzzed with light chatter until the sound of heels clicking against the floor silenced everyone. The door creaked open. A woman with blonde hair entered the classroom. Her aura was breathtaking. Her sapphire blue eyes that seemed to hold the depth of a starry sky scanned the faces of every student. Her features were flawless, and despite being in her early 30s, she radiated the beauty of a princess straight from the fairy tales. All the students, both male and female, stared at her, likely captivated by her elegance. I was no exception, blankly staring at her, my mouth hanged open. She was genuinely that gorgeous. Smack! Hey, you have a weird grin on your face. It's creepy. Smacking me to the shoulder, Anna whispered, freeing me from my dreams. My cheeks flushed as I turned back to my notes. Yeah, sorry about that. Feeling foolish. Good afternoon, class. I am Ms. Angelica Rainfield, your instructor for monster analysis, she introduced. Her sweet, honey-like voice took my breath. Oh, dear God. The lecture began with her explaining the various types of monsters that roam the world. Wraths, hounds, howls, and other species which comes in different ranks and power that posed a constant threat to our world. Their origins were still unknown, though no one truly knew where the monsters first appeared or how do they spread so rapidly. What everyone did know, however, was their devastating impact on the world. And among all the monsters, the Fallen was the most dangerous and powerful monsters known till date. A single Fallen was a calamity beyond imagination. Their features are similar to humans. They look quite a bit like humans. They possess white wings similar to that of an angle from the old fairy tales. It requires about 2 single-ranked heroes to defeat one. The whole class gasped as Miss Rainfield described their destructive capabilities. 2 single rankers, huh? Well, it's true, I thought, suppressing a smirk. If it's just one Fallen, I can handle it all by myself. As Ms. Rainfield continued her lecture, I found myself a little difficult to stay engaged. Monsters. I had fought and killed nearly all of them. This was not anything news to me. While the rest of the students scribbled notes and listened to her lecture, I leaned back in my seat, letting my thoughts drift. Why is Glory coming to Nova? I had worked with Glory on few missions. As a rank 3 hero, he was undoubtedly strong and deserved his title. And the things I knew of him are, he is born into a noble family, he carried himself with a prideful air, a certain arrogance can be seen in his face. But above all, he had the skills to back it up. I began piecing together the puzzle in my mind. Glory wasn't the type to visit Nova without a purpose. And knowing the Hero Association, this wasn't just a casual check-in. Deploying a single ranker even to a seminar hid a deeper meaning. My chest tightened as I clenched my fists under the desk. The Hero Association is planning something. They won't use a rank 3 powerhouse like Glory unless there is someone of equally powerful as him. And if it's not me, then Ruby Oliver. The thought struck me, it has to be her. The head mistress of Nova had to be the target. She was hiding something, and the Hero Association had likely sent their dog to uncover it. But why? I considered the possibilities. Ruby could be involved in something dangerous, something that the Hero Association finds difficult to ignore. Or perhaps they viewed her as a threat to their control. Either way, one fact was clear. The Hero Association wanted her monitored. If all that's true, then I had to make my move quickly. Let this be their first taste of my revenge. They won't even realize what will struck them. I need to act in this behind the scenes, ensuring no one close to me got caught in the crossfire. Glory, despite his strength, was no match for me. If eliminating him was the only way to protect those I cared about and disrupt association schemes, then so be it. The bell rang, snapping me back to the reality. And that's all for today, Ms. Rainfield declared. Review today's lecture and prepare for the next class. And with that, the 4th and last class for today started. The 4th period was an open elective. Students has to choose from one of the 4 subjects. Clicking on the display of my wristwatch, a blue transparent holographic display appeared. I browsed through the information about open elective. Open elective, basic of enchantment, elemental science, skills nourishment. Anna turned to me with a curious look. So what's your choice? I am thinking of elemental science. Figures. By the way, I am going for the skill nourishment. That makes sense, I nodded. Skill nourishment was a hands-on subject for first years to choose. This subject mainly focuses on refining skills. For someone like Anna and most other first year, it was without a doubt a stable choice. We walked together towards the corridor. I heard that many students failed to pass elemental science, but knowing you, I think you will do just fine. Anna warned. According to me, elemental science wasn't just a subject. It was the fundamental principles of this world. My interest in this subject stemmed from my personal philosophy. Everything in this world is interconnected, bound together through quantum entanglement, with elemental essence serving as the core force driving these connections. Good luck with your class, Anna said with a small wave. You too, I replied. See you later. With that, I headed toward my classroom. The classroom was tucked away in a quiet corner of the building. As I entered, I noticed how less populated it was. There were only about 20 students scattered across the room. It made sense. Elemental science was primarily theoretical and mostly a challenging subject. I chose a seat in the last row where I observed the room without drawing too much attention to myself. As I scanned the space, I spotted a few familiar faces from my own class, 1A, and some unfamiliar ones, likely students from other sections. With around 500 first-year students, the sections are divided into 10 classes, 1A to 1J. The low attendance for this subject wasn't surprising. Most students probably opted for the more hands-on or general electives like skill nourishment or world history. I leaned back in my chair, waiting for the lecture to begin. As the minutes ticked by, my thoughts drifted. Excuse me, can I sit here? A sweet voice called out to me. Looking up from my seat, I saw a familiar girl with her cyan hair dropping to her forehead, which touched her rounded black frame glasses. She was the one who has casted a spell without absorbing the elemental essence during entrance examination. Yeah, go ahead. Moving to the corner, I offered her space. Thank you. Smiling at her, I nodded. No problem. Why is she staring at me like that? Can I help you? I asked, startling her as she blushed, hiding her forehead even more with her shiny cyan bangs. No, it's just that your essence, it's a bit strange. Interesting. How come? I asked, maintaining a curious face. I don't know. They are a bit aggressive around you. They? What do you see? But before I finished, the classroom doors creaked open, and my attention snapped toward it. A black-haired woman entered. Her presence caught everyone's eye present in that room in an instant. She looked to be in her late 50s, with sharp eyes that seemed to pierce through your thoughts. The wrinkles on her face weren't just signs of age. They told a story of years of immersed research and hard work. She stood on the podium, her gaze sweeping across the class as if sizing each of us. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Professor Wilma Whitlock. Let's begin. Wilma Whitlock, I know her. I have read the books and research of her when I was in Hero Association, and to be honest, her research was the reason I got hooked into elemental science. I leaned back in my seat, watching as she began the lecture. Her voice was calm but carried a certain weight, the kind that held your attention whether you wanted it or not. The elementals, she started, are the core of all existence. They aren't just forces of nature. They are alive, intertwined with every aspect of the world. They sustain life, balance ecosystems, and even influence the very skills we wield. Her words had my full attention. Finally, a class worth listening to. Her hypothesis aligned very close to my own theories about elemental essence. She spoke of their influence on life and their connection to nature, but she hadn't yet touched on the connection I suspected, how elementals might directly interact with skills. I couldn't resist. Raising my hand, I asked, Professor, do elementals and skills share a direct connection? And if so, how does it affect one's skill? Her sharp eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment I felt as though she was studying me. Then a small smile tugged at her lips. An excellent question, she said, her voice filled with warmth. However, I must admit I don't have a profound answer. While I do suspect there is a link, my research hasn't yet uncovered concrete evidence. The room fell silent for a moment before whispers broke out among the students. I could hear the surprise in their murmurs. Professor Whitlock was a legend, known across all 5 kingdoms for her groundbreaking research on elemental. For someone of her status to openly admit like that, it was rare to say the least. She chuckled softly, raising her hand to quiet the noise. Then her eyes found me again. You must be Zane Skylark. I blinked, caught off guard. How do you know me? I was the one who set the written examination paper for your entrance test. Your answers were extraordinary, especially the final one. It was insightful, well-structured, and thought-provoking. You rarely see that level of understanding from someone your age. It was worthy of full marks. I nodded, unsure of how to respond. While I didn't care much for validation, but hearing it from her made me really proud. We exchanged a few more theories about elementals. She encouraged me to continue exploring the subject, which, coming from her, almost felt like a challenge. As the class ended, I made my way out. As I passed by the bulletin board in the hallway, a brightly colored pamphlet caught my eye. Rank 3 Hero Glory to visit Nova for a seminar in 2 days. The clock is ticking. My heart pounded. I clenched my fists as the pieces of my plan formed in my mind. If I wanted to eliminate Glory and make my move against the Hero Association, it had to be soon. But I couldn't do this alone. I needed Ruby's assist for this plan to work. Meeting her during the day wasn't an option. It would draw too much attention. Midnight, I decided. That's when I'll meet her. As I walked away from the board, my thoughts racing. There was no turning back now. Every move I made from here on out had to be perfect. End of chapter 11 meeting. What do normal people do at midnight? Sleep? Well, yeah, if you're an adult or if your mom scolds you to. Study? Sure, if you've got exams tomorrow. Gaming or binge watching your favorite show? That too, if you live alone. But here I am sneaking into my academy's campus at midnight. Why, you ask? To break into the headmistress's office, obviously. Now don't judge me, I have my reasons. Tapping the sleek surface of my wristwatch, I watched as a familiar holographic window appeared above it. 1200 a.m. Friday. The time glowed softly on the display. Closing it, I glanced around. It's dark, all right. The sky above me was pitch black. My clothes were black. My shoes were black. Even the katana in my dimensional ring was black. Perfect for sneaking around. Okay, I admit it. I'm obsessed with the color black. Reason? Because black things matter. My gaze shifted to the towering structure ahead. The Horizon Building, a 50-story giant building nestled to the sides of the Nova Academy campus. This was where the professors, and most importantly, where the headmistress lives. My destination. Ruby Oliver's room. I activated my skill. Elemental Sense. A skill that allows me to see, hear, and feel almost everything around 50 kilometers radius. Skills come naturally to people when they are born. We don't know why or how. But we do know one thing, that skills are necessary for survival in this world. Every living being possesses at least one skill. And the greater the power of a skill, the more lethal are its side effects. A faint ripple coursed through the air around me. My ability wasn't just a sensory skill. It was a manifestation of elemental essence, the fundamental fabric of this very world. Every single object, every single living or non-living, radiated essence, a unique energy that connected everything. As I closed my eyes, I took a deep breath to steady my focus. The world around me blurred, and then it came alive inside my mind. A distorted, glowing map of the entire area took shape. Tiny particles of energy flowed through every structure, every tree, and every living being, forming a vivid blueprint that covered across a 50-kilometer radius. It wasn't a perfect image. It was blurry and distorted like a painting on water. But it was enough for me. Amidst the vast map of glowing auras, I locked in the Horizon Building. The outlines of its 50 stories became clear, and within, I sensed the 257 individuals scattered throughout. Every person emitted their own signature, unique and distinguishable like a fingerprint. And then I saw her, Ruby Oliver. Her essence burned like a bright red flame, vibrant and intense, almost impossible to miss. It was radiating from the top floor. "Found you," I muttered under my breath. I opened my eyes. The map was fading from my mind as though pulling back to reality. But there was one more thing to do. I activated Elemental Sense again, this time concentrating on the building's ground and interior corridors. The distorted image returned, revealing the positions of 35 guards, both inside and outside the building. I smirked. Child's play. They moved in predictable patterns. Their paths was intersecting each other, but they never once overlapped. Moving inside, I snuck in the shadows, my footsteps silent against the white floors. My every step was calculated. Every pause was precise. The guards' movements were nothing more than obstacles in this game. Easily bypassing them, as I witnessed their positions in real time, I stayed out of their sight. By the time I reached the top floor, my breathing was steady. The hallway was quiet and lit only by dim overhead lights. Only a single metallic door stood in this floor. A biometric scanner and door cam were mounted on its surface, and the name Ruby Oliver was engraved in bold letters across the nameplate. I stopped in front of the door, my hands hovering on the doorbell. Should I press the bell? No, that would be too formal. I decided to knock lightly. The sound was barely audible, but enough for Ruby to hear. A second later, I heard the faint buzz of the door cam activating. I stood still, letting Ruby to get a good look at me. The door creaked open slightly as Ruby peeked her head out. Her crimson red hair was tied in a messy bun, and her sharp eyes were filled with surprise and worry. "Zane," she whispered. Her voice was soft but ringed with concern. "What happened? At this hour, are you okay?" "Let's talk inside." She hesitated for a moment, then nodding, she moved aside, letting me in. Ruby was dressed casually, a loose t-shirt and pajama shorts. It caught me off guard. "I have something to discuss," I said with a stern-white face. "Is this about Glory?" "Yeah." Sitting on the sofa, I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees as I laid out the details of my plan to Ruby. Her eyes stayed locked on mine. I didn't hold back. I told her everything. Every move Glory will possibly make, every calculated risk I will take to counter him, and every step of the strategy I had devised to ensure he will dealt with. By the time I finished, silence filled the room. Ruby leaned back, her arms crossed, as she processed what I just said. Finally, she broke the silence. "That's flawless," she said. Her crimson eyes stared at me. "Zane, how did you even come up with this? And how far ahead have you seen through his plan?" A faint smile appeared on my face. "Far enough to know his next few moves before he does. I've worked with him on enough missions to understand his habits, his alliances, and his false facade. Glory's overconfident. He thinks he's untouchable, but that's his greatest weakness." "And you're sure this will work? That it'll keep me, Nova, and even you out of the Hero Association's suspicion?" "It will," I said firmly. "If everything goes as planned, Glory will be eliminated without the Association having any reason to point their fingers at you or Nova." "But—" I hesitated, studying her expression. "I'll need your help to pull it off." Ruby's eyes softened. For a moment, she looked uncertain. Then she exhaled deeply, her shoulders relaxing as she nodded. "If it's you, Zane, then I'll help." I knew what I was asking from her, and the risks involved weren't something I could ignore. "It's fine, I'll do anything to help you." Ruby reached out, taking my hands in hers. Her touch was warm, melting me in the moment. She rested her head lightly on my shoulder. Her voice was a soft murmur. "Promise me something, Zane." "What is it?" "Don't do anything dangerous," she said, her tone carrying a heavy weight I couldn't ignore. "I believe in you. I always have. I know you're powerful, probably the strongest person I've ever met. But going against the Hero Association, that's not something you can take lightly. They'll come after you eventually, Zane. They'll do everything in their power to harm you. And Her voice wavered for a fraction of a second. "I don't have any family. You are the only one I have, and I don't want to lose you." Her words hit harder than I expected. My chest ached, and the way she clung to me as if I might just disappear if she let go. For a moment, I couldn't speak. What could I say? Ruby Oliver was a strong girl, despite her age only being 3 years older to mine. And unlike me, she tackled every hardship people thrown at her without any complaint. She did her job confidently. But above all, she had always been there for me, even when no one else was. She was the one who hugged me when I came to her, broken and crying after I killed for the very first time in my mission. She was the one who worried about me, even when I didn't deserve it. I owed her everything, and I would do anything to protect her. If it came to it, I wouldn't just eliminate Glory. I would destroy anyone who dares to harm her, be it the Hero Association or even an entire nation. I turned to her, my voice quiet but steady. "I promise I'll be careful. But Ruby, I can't let this go. Not when someone threatens you. You mean so much to me." Her head tilted up slightly, her crimson eyes searching mine. She didn't say anything, but a faintest smile tugged at her lips, hiding her cheeks and my shoulder. She squeezed my hand gently. That was enough for now. It's getting late. I should move out. But before I stood up, Ruby held me back. Her fingers tightened around mine. Her eyes met mine. It's late. Why don't you spend the night? End of chapter 12, awakening, blankly staring at Ruby as she offers me to stay the night. I felt a very rare moment of speechlessness. Her crimson eyes glimmered with curiosity as she tilted her head slightly, breaking the silence. What? Why did you go silent? She asked, her voice soft yet tinged with amusement. Nothing, I muttered, averting my eyes. The silence again stretched on. Finally, Ruby broke it with her sudden thought. Oh, that reminds me, she said, reaching into her dimension ring. A small black box materialized in her hand as she extended it toward me. What's this? I asked curiously, taking the box from her. It's a skill monitor, Ruby explained, her tone well-maintained. The one you got from the Hero Association is probably broken, so I got you a new one. This is the latest model on the market, and the company even claims it can display skills side effects. A skill monitor. I had this device before when I was working for Hero Association, a tool designed by humans to analyze and display an individual's possessed skills. But the fact that Ruby had gone out of her way to get me one raised question that I wasn't sure I wanted to ask. I opened the box and found a transparent lens inside, similar to a contact lens. Upon closer inspection, I noticed tiny nanocomputers inscribed along its edges, glinting faintly under the light. Go on, try it, Ruby urged, leaning forward slightly with a bright smile. I hesitated for a moment, then carefully placed the lens on my right eye. A slight tingling sensation ran through my eye as I infused it with a small amount of my essence to activate it. Immediately, a large holographic screen appeared in front of me, visible only to my eye. Ish distortion. Can eliminate essence within a 10-kilometer radius. Side effect, makes wielder aggressive and violent. Elemental view, can sense almost everything within a 50-kilometer radius. Side effect, using for more than 10 minutes causes extreme fatigue. Quantum manipulation, complete control over quantum outcomes. Side effect, instant death. Immortality, makes wielder immortal. Side effect, I stared at the screen, my expression dumbfounded. This was far beyond what my previous skill monitor could display. Not only did it list all my skills, but it also revealed their side effects. Amazing. But two skills, however, caught my attention the most. Immortality. It was unreal seeing it listed so plainly, yet its side effect was marked with a mystery even to this device. And then there was quantum manipulation. My heart raced as I read its description. The ability to control quantum outcomes. It sounded invincible, but the side effect was instant death was a stark reminder of its dangerous cost. And that's the only reason why I never dared to use it. Not once. The risk was far too great. But still, what are the odds of possessing immortality alongside quantum manipulation? Suddenly, a thought raised in my mind, a hypothesis I had just come up with. If my theory was correct, then these two skills together could become something unimaginable. Found anything interesting? Ruby's voice broke through my thoughts. I blinked, the holographic screen disappearing as I turned to her. Yeah, I said, my voice calm despite the possibilities brewing in my mind. This is definitely better than the old one. Ruby smiled. I thought you'd like it. Consider it a thank you gift. For what? For all the care you gave me, she said, leaning towards me as her tone dropping slightly. And for what you're about to do. Her words hung in the air. I glanced back at the boss, my mind still racing for all the previous thoughts. Placing the skill monitor into my dimension ring, I looked at Ruby and gave her a nod of gratitude. Thank you very much, I said, standing up from the seat. But I've to go now. Can't you stay? Just for today? Maybe some other time after this whole glory situation is taken care of. Her expression faltered slightly, her face giving a hint of sadness. Fine, she said, her voice quieter than before. Without another word, I turned and left the building, walking swiftly until I was outside the Nova Academy campus. As soon as I passed the gates, I broke into a run, passing through the quiet streets of Frostville City, until I reached a silent, shadowed back alley. My breathing was ragged, not from the exhaustion, but from the storm of thoughts and excitement in my mind. I scanned my surroundings, ensuring no one was watching. Satisfied, I reached into my dimension ring and pulled out my black katana. Its blade gleamed faintly under the moonlight. I stared at the weapon in my hand. My heart was pounding in a chaotic mix of nervousness and excitement. If my theory is correct, I gripped the katana tightly and made a small cut on my thumb. A bead of blood formed, dripping onto the ground. I waited, my eyes fixed on my hand, but nothing happened. Clenching my hand, I tried again, this time cutting deeper. Blood flowed freely, staining the blade red, but still there was no change. I tried again, this time cutting even deeper, but still there was no change. Disappointment. My earlier hope was slipping away, leaving behind a hollow ache in my chest. If only it were true. Just as I was about to let go of the katana and abandon the idea, Ruby's face flashed in my mind. That brief moment, her sobbing face, the image struck something deep inside me. No, I muttered, gritted my teeth. I haven't tried everything yet. Without giving myself time to hesitate, I took a deep breath, placing the blade over my thumb again, and with one swift motion, I severed it entirely. A hot wave of pain tore through my hand as blood sprayed out in a violent gush. I bit my lips hard, suppressing my scream, my body trembling from the intensity of the agony. I stared at the missing thumb, hoping that this would be enough. 1 minute passed, then 2. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. Still not enough? I snarled, clenching my teeth, my patience resolved. I positioned the katana against my arm. I swung the blade downward, severing my arm just below the elbow. Ugh! The pain was unlike anything I had ever felt before. It was as if my very soul had been ripped apart. Blood erupted in torrents, painting the alley walls in an unpleasant display. My veins jutted out, throbbing as they spilled out their contents. Torn muscles twitched unevenly, and shards of exposed bone glistened, jutting out like jagged spears. I fell to my knees, the world around me spinning as the life drained from my body. My vision blurred, and just as I thought I might black out, a familiar voice echoed in my mind. Requirement satisfied. The voice was my own, but stripped of any emotion, warmth, and life like a mechanical echo. Checking credibility. Success. Granting authority. Success. Aga. The pain intensified, becoming something otherworldly. It wasn't just physical anymore. It tore through my mind and soul, shaking me to my very core. I could feel something shifting within me. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, it halted. The pain vanished, the voice silenced, leaving only me and Silent Ally. I looked down at my hand. I froze. I couldn't believe what I am witnessing. My fingers were back, fully intact. My arm, severed moments ago, was completely restored. There were no wounds, no scars, no evidence of anything that had happened at all. I stood to my feet, my body trembling as confusion raced through me. What was that? Authority? I murmured, my voice barely audible. Without wasting a second, I pulled out the skill monitor and placed it over my eye. The holographic display lit up, and what I saw turned my blood cold. It studies distortion. Can eliminate essence within a 10 kilometer radius. Side effect. Makes wielder aggressive and violent. Elemental view. Can sense almost everything within a 50 kilometer radius. Side effect. Using for more than 10 minutes causes extreme fatigue. Quantum manipulation. Complete authority over the quantum outcomes. Side effects. None. Immortality. Makes wielder immortal. Fused. Side effects. Under. For a moment, I was shocked. I could do nothing but stare at the screen, my very own deduction hitting me down like a tidal wave, and then something inside me broke. Ha 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 ha. A laugh escaped my lips, low and guttural at first, but quickly escalating into something wild, unhinged. I threw my head back, my body bended as I laughed maniacally, my voice echoing through the empty alley. This changes everything, I shouted, clutching my katana tightly. The power coursing me now was unlike anything I had ever known. This wasn't just any turning point, it was a complete rewriting of the rules. From this moment on, my life, my very existence, everything had changed. The world has no idea what was coming. End of chapter 13, Discovery. Warning, this chapter contains some scenes which might not be suitable for some readers. A faint humming sound echoed in a small room, a sound of someone singing, cheerfully and softly. Inside the room, the metallic walls reflected the overhead light. There were no windows. A narrow bed was rested in the corner. Laying on top was a purple teddy bear. One of its eyes had been replaced with a stitched-on button. Beside the bed was a small floor desk filled with crayons and worn sheets of paper. It's ready! A crimson-haired girl's voice broke throughout the room. She stood up on her place, holding a piece of paper high above her head, as if it was the greatest achievement of her life. Her glowing crimson eyes sparkled with pride, and a radiant smile lit up her face. She skipped over to her bed, her steps light and carefree. Sitting beside the teddy bear, she whispered in a sing-song tone, "Do you know, I heard them say I'm getting a roommate." Her voice rose with excitement, her words filled with a bone that didn't belong in a room like this. She patted the bear's head lovingly, her small fingers tracing over the uneven threads of its button eye. I'm so excited. I hope they like drawing too." Her cheeks flushing with childish enthusiasm. "I wish." Bam, bam, the loud sound of fists slamming against the door shattered her moment of joy. "Shut your damn mouth," a harsh voice barked from the other side. The girl froze, the blood draining from her face as she turns pale. Her hands trembled, and the drawing she had been holding slipped from her grasp, landing onto the floor. Her glowing crimson eyes widened with fear. Without thinking, she backed away, curling herself onto the bed, hugging her knees tightly to her chest. I'm sorry, she mumbled, her voice breaking. I'm sorry, she repeated over and over again, her each word slightly softer than the last. Her once lively expression was now replaced with sheer terror. Her entire body trembled. She shivered uncontrollably like a stray puppy in a cold wind, every fiber of her being consumed by fear. The metallic door slid open, revealing two men stepping into the confined room. The room was like a prison to her. Her eyes locked onto their faces, and in that instant, all light drained from them. No, please, she stammered, her voice breaking as she gets down the floor, her head bowing so low it touched the cold surface. I didn't mean to. I promise I'll be quiet. I won't even speak. I'm sorry. What nonsense? One of the men barked before raising his heavy boot. The stomp came down on her head with such a force that she let out a cry of pain. Ah! But before the scream could even escape her throat, another kick landed against her side. Fucking bitch. Stop crying. Please, I am sorry. Smack, smack, smack. The man's boot crashed down on her repeatedly, each blow more violent than the last. Her small body suffers under the relentless assault, her hands trying to shield her head, but they did nothing to stop it. Get up, you crazy bitch, he roared, his voice filled with disgust. Right, smack, smack. The stomps kept coming. Stop it, you'll kill her. The second man finally interrupted, grabbing his companion's arm and pulling him back. The first man huffed angrily, but he still looked down at her trembling body. He wants to see you. Now hurry up. Why do I have to deal with this mentally ill bitch? The man spat, delivering another vicious kick to her abdomen. Smack! She felt her vision blurring from the intensity of the pain. The man aimed his boot at her face for a final blow, but the second man intervened, grabbing his arm. That's enough. Let's go. The two men left the room. She was left alone, her frail body curled up on the floor, her arms wrapped tightly around her stomach. She groaned in agony, tears streaming down her face. I am so hurt. Her voice barely audible as she choked in between her gasps. After a minute or two, she mustered the strength to crawl to the sink in the corner of her room. Gripping the edges of the sink, she pulled herself up. Her reflection stared back at her from the mirror. Her face was spotless. Her skin was smooth. But how was that possible? There wasn't a single trace of the brutal beating she had just endured. It was her power. No matter how much pain she suffered, no matter how many blows she took, her body would always appear unharmed. She could never bleed, unless the blows are lethal. But the pain, she always felt it. She pressed her forehead against the mirror, her breath fogging up the glass. "Why?" she whispered. The drawing she'd been so proud of laid on the cold floor. It presented three figures: a small girl with crimson hair in the center, holding hands with a man and a woman. Their faces, however, had been violently scribbled over with a black crayon, leaving nothing but dark smudges. Above their heads were three words, written in shaky letters: Mom, Dad, Ruby. But it was only a dream. The metallic room dissolved into darkness. Zane's eyes shot open, his body trembling, processing the dream he just witnessed. His breathing was heavy. "Ha! Ha! What was that? That was definitely Ruby." My mind raced as I tried to make sense of that dream. Why did I see Ruby in my dream? Was it even a dream? And if it was real, why now? And why Ruby, of all people? This was beyond anything I could imagine. Her sobbing, her helpless pleas, they replayed repeatedly in my mind. And with every play, my anger boiled even more. Ruby looked like a child. Seeing her like that makes my blood burn. But suddenly I lost control of the essence inside me. I clenched my fists, but it was too late to suppress the wave. Doom! The entire room shook as the essence exploded out of me, radiating far beyond my control. The vibrations emitted surged through Honeyford, shaking the very foundations of the town. Shit. Realizing my mistake, I forced myself to calm down. My breathing was heavy, my chest in rage, but somehow I managed to will the essence back under control. What the hell is happening to me? Let's think this straight. Was this connected to my new powers? Could it be because of immortality? Or maybe quantum manipulation? It was too much to process. No matter how hard I tried to piece it together, the logic wouldn't align. But one thing was clear. This power, this quantum manipulation was the key. I needed answers. I looked at my wristband. It reads 3 a.m. I opened my window and jumped out, landing silently on the ground below. I saw that the lights of nearby houses were on, likely due to my essence shockwave. Hurriedly, I navigated through the dark alleys of Honeyford, hiding my presence as I searched for a target. It didn't take long. A few blocks away, I saw a man in his 30s holding a woman by her throat. His lips curled into a smirk, his tongue licking his upper lip as he pushed her against the wall. His free hand moved toward her waist, ignoring her desperate pleas. "Let's see what happens," I muttered, my voice low. I activated my skill. Quantum manipulation. The world around me shifted in an instant. I lost control of my body, but I watched, no, felt, as the power took over me. The objects around me lost their form, breaking down into tiny particles that floated around. I could see everything. The molecular structures, the quantum threads that bound the air, the ground, the houses, the people. I could see them, feel them, and almost as if I could control them. My mind was focused on the man before me. He was my only target. Nothing else mattered to me at the moment. With just a thought, I focused on the air around the man. Every molecule laid visible to me: nitrogen, oxygen, argon. I could tell which molecules is which. My mind focused on the oxygen atom as it began to vibrate, converging faster and faster until the pressure became unbearable. The man froze, his grip on the woman's throat loosening as he fell to his knees, choking harshly out of nowhere. The air around him thickened. I shifted my focus on dust particles around him. Dust particles swirled around him violently. The particles made his way inside his body, grinding every tissues, every muscles into a pulpy liquid. His eyes, wide with terror, finally lost all the lights. The storm inside his body intensified, and within seconds, he was reduced to a lifeless husk. I deactivated the skill. Control of my body returned to me, and the world snapped back to normal. I staggered, gripping the wall for support as a cold sweat dripped down my face. My breathing was shallow, my heart racing. "I was right," I whispered. "This power, It's not ordinary. It doesn't just bend logic, it shatters it. Returning to my room, I laid on my bed, constructing a plan. This skill made things easier. Just a few more steps, and glory's end would be guaranteed. End of chapter, chapter 14. Black Market. Hey. Rubbing my eyes as sunlight hit me through the window, painting the room in warm hue. For a moment, I just sat there on the edge of my bed. Everything felt normal, but normal wasn't comforting anymore. It's tomorrow. Shaking off the lingering thought, I stood up before heading to the restroom. The cool water jolted against my face as it jolted me awake. I stared at my reflection for a moment. Messy black hair, faint shadow under my eyes, clearly due to my lack of sleep. Putting on my black Nova Academy uniform. All set, I said. I headed downstairs as a familiar aroma of coffee hit me. My mother moved swiftly between tables, while my father worked in the kitchen. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Dad, I greeted as I entered. Morning, Zane, my dad replied, glancing up briefly with a smile. Good morning, dear, my mom said, pausing long enough to set a plate of breakfast on the table for me. As I sat down, I heard some faint whispers from the customers present. Did you hear Miss Marina was hospitalized? A woman with pink dress asked. Huh? Really, what happened? Another woman replied. I heard she was attacked by some thug yesterday. What happened then? Did the thug got caught? He must be, right? The woman keeps bombarding her friend with questions. I wonder what happened. No, Miss Marina says that the thug died right in front of her eyes. What? How? I don't know, she said. He just died. Huh? Yeah, and she also said that thug's insides are flowing out from all of his possible areas. Cough, cough. I coughed a mouthful of coffee. Stop, stop. I don't want to hear it. Fuck, it can't be me, right? Ignoring them, I continued my breakfast. Did Elise leave early again? I asked, glancing toward the stairs. My mom replied yes. She said she'll be busy until tomorrow. You know how she is with the student council? I nodded. Elise always pushed herself, maintaining her role on the student council, and with her studies, it surely is tough. So, he'll be arriving tomorrow. Once I finished my breakfast, I stood up, thanking my mom and dad before heading out. The morning air was crisp, the streets were alive with its usual energy of Honeyford's citizen. I made my way to the train station, blending into the crowd. The train arrived shortly, its doors slid open with a mechanical hiss. I stepped in, finding a seat by the window. The 15-minute ride passed in a blur, my thoughts still racing by what needed to be done. By the time I reached at Frostville City, I still had an hour left before my classes. Perfect. I needed time to prepare. Tomorrow wasn't just some ordinary day. With glory coming to Nova, everything had to execute smoothly. I made my way to a public restroom near the market. Its tiled floors gleamed under the lights, and the wide mirror stretched across the wall reflected the empty space behind me. 7 cubicles lined the other side, but the room was empty, just what I needed. Standing before the mirror, I let out a slow breath. My reflection stared back at me. This won't do. I needed to be someone else for this task. Closing my eyes, I focused on the ice essence as it flowed inside me. A cold, familiar energy rippled out through my veins, and slowly my hair began to lose its dark color, turning into completely white. My eyes followed suit, its color draining until they mirrored the icy aura that surrounded me. The reflection that stared back to me was cold, distant, almost inhuman. I studied the transformation for a moment, tilting my head. This won't do much, I muttered under my breath. Refocusing my mind, but this time on the fire essence, pulling it forward while suppressing the others. Heat replaced the cold, spreading through me in a rush. My hair turned into vivid red, and my eyes followed, blazing with an intensity that was impossible to overlook. I stared at my reflection again. It was better, but not enough to erase every trace of my actual appearance. Reaching into my dimension pouch, I pulled out a pair of black glasses. Sliding them on, I studied the result. Much better, I murmured, a faint smirk tugged my lips. The perfect cover for the perfect plan. Satisfied, I stepped out from the restroom and into the busy streets. The market was alive with people. As I approached the location, My eyes roamed around, searching the streets for any familiar landmark. Let's see, it should be around here somewhere, I murmured under my breath. After a few minutes of searching, I finally found it. A shop with the sign which says, Odd Jobs. It looked utterly ordinary, almost unnoticed. The kind of place you'd pass a dozen times without sparing it a single glance. But I knew better. The name was a code. It was the infamous black market, disguised as a harmless shop dealing in odd items. I had stumbled across it during one of my very basic missions, in which I was hunting down a gang leader. I pushed open the door. The faint creak of its hinges broke the silence inside. The shop's interior was dimly lit, and the musty scent of wood and old artifacts filled the air. Shelves lined the walls, crammed with peculiar objects. Old artifacts, strange sculptures, and a few items that looked more like junk than anything valuable. It was like walking into an antique shop. Behind the counter stood a man with jet black hair and a dense, messy beard. His sharp eyes followed me as I entered. Welcome, what can I do for you? His voice was deep and husky. I adjusted my voice, lowering it slightly to mask any familiarity. Take me there, I said bluntly, skipping any form of pretend. The man raised an eyebrow. He was clearly caught off guard. Maybe he wasn't expecting someone of my age to know about the black market, let alone demand an entry with such confidence. His eyes swept over me, scanning me from head to toe, likely searching for any sign of hesitation. After a moment, he let out a low chuckle. All right, kid, he muttered. Follow me. He stepped out from behind the counter and led me toward a large shelf displaying ancient-looking statues. With a quick tap on his wristwatch, the shelf slid aside with a mechanical hiss, revealing a narrow staircase descending into deep underground. The man gestured toward the stairs. Go on, and since it doesn't seem like this is your first time, I already presume you know all the rules. Don't cause trouble. Don't ask unnecessary questions and mind your damn business. Understood? I gave him a small nod, not bothered to respond. As I descended the stairs, the air grew much colder. The sound of the bustling market below gradually reached my ears. The scene that unfolded before my eyes was something straight out of a crime movie. The underground market was alive with activity, stalls lining one side of the road, their keepers shouting out to attract attention. Strange and illegal items were on full display. Enchanted weapons, exotic materials, potions with questionable origins. Damn, not much has changed. I ignored all the calls and stares. I kept my focus sharp as I walked straight towards a small building tucked away at the very corner. The sign above read, Mercenary Department. Pushing the door open, I stepped inside. The atmosphere here was quieter. Behind the counter stood a woman with silver hair, a feature that marked her as a citizen of Stormshade. Then her eyes met mine. Welcome, she said, her voice smooth and refined. What can we do for you? I have a task, I said, pulling an envelope from my pocket. Some rumor I needed to spread. She tilted her head, intrigued. Surely, she replied, reaching for the envelope. Her delicate fingers traced its edges as she opened it. After a quick glance at the contents, she looked back at me. Her expression was a mixture of surprise and disbelief. How far do you want this rumor to spread? All 5 kingdoms, I replied without hesitation. Her eyes widened slightly, though she quickly masked her surprise with a smirk. How aggressive, she remarked. That kind of coverage will cost you. $1 million. $1 million? I raised my eyebrow, pretending to be slightly shocked. She chuckled softly, leaning forward. If you can't afford it, don't waste my time, boy. This isn't some petty neighborhood for gossip. You want a message like this to travel across 5 kingdoms. That comes at a price. Good. Let her underestimate me. It would only make things easier in the future. Without any word, I pulled out my pay card, a thing from my past as a former rank 1 hero. It carried more than enough to cover the cost, though I rarely used it these days. Here, use this. Sliding it across the counter, I met her gaze evenly. Her smirk faltered briefly as she took the card, clearly not expecting me to have the means to pay. She scanned it, and the faint beep of confirmation from the device echoed between us. Her lips curled back into a smirk, this time tinged with genuine amusement. Well, well, she said, handing the card over to me. Looks like you're full of surprises. The name's Mia, and I will be the overlooker of this task. Consider the job done. She offered a handshake as I politely took it. Good. I put the card back into my pocket and turned to leave. As I reached the door, her voice called out to me from behind. We don't have to be strangers next time. We always appreciate a customer with full pockets. A light chuckle left my mouth as I stepped back into the chaotic energy of the black market. The rumor needed to spread far and faster. If it worked, which it definitely will, then tomorrow's events would unfold exactly as I had planned. If not, well, failure wasn't an option. The final part was over. Now all that remained for me was to wait for the storm I had just unleashed. End of chapter 15, Before the Storm. After leaving the black market, I headed to a nearby restroom to revert my appearance. I stood in front of the mirror as I focused and suppressed the fire essence within me, letting it ebb away. My once fiery red hair gradually shifted back to its natural black, and my eyes returned to their usual silver shade. Sometimes it felt strange switching identities and become someone else entirely. But it was necessary. Tapping on my wristband, I realized that there were only 30 minutes left before my class started. I can make it, I muttered, as I rushed toward Nova Academy. By the time I reached Nova, the tall, modern buildings loomed over me, and students wearing black uniforms same as mine swarmed around, lost in their own conversations. I made my way in front of the classroom. Standing before me was a large wooden door with Class 1 engraved on it. The moment I stepped in, I bumped into someone. Ouch! A sharp voice exclaimed. The sound of pain came from the other party. I glanced down and saw a girl with blonde hair glaring up at me. Her features instantly gave her away that she was from Terra Nova. Sorry, I said quickly, stepping back to give her space. But instead of accepting my apology, she narrowed her eye and she snapped, Watch where you're going. What now? I'm not the type who gets angered easily by some petty things. I just stood there silently, blankly staring right into her eyes. I nodded slightly in acknowledgement, deciding it wasn't worth engaging with her. I began to move toward my seat at the back, but she wasn't done. Hey, did you just ignore me? Her voice rose up a bit, sharp enough to catch the attention of the entire class. Their gazes landed towards us as silent whispers spread across the class. Sigh. Not today. Angered by my long sigh, her lips curled upward as a faint, vicious smile appeared on her face. By a single glance at her, I could tell that she doesn't want this to end quickly. I can't afford to cause trouble before tomorrow. You bumped into me on purpose, didn't you? What's your problem? Whispers filled the room and the weight of everyone's gaze turned toward me. She was shouting now, practically accusing me of something really absurd. Just let it slide, I told myself, suppressing the urge to slap her face. What? Cat got your tongue? Her insults kept coming, but I stood there, fully composed, and this made her ever more furious. Without suppressing any longer, she released her essence. Swoosh! The whole classroom felt that. Her aura was strong, really strong, but it didn't affect me. Interesting. Maybe I should stop. But before things could escalate any further, a boy with silver hair stepped forward. His broad shoulders and confident stride immediately drew the class's attention. He was the kind of guy you just couldn't ignore. Handsome, well-built, and radiating unparalleled charisma. Jessica, that's enough, he said, his voice calm but firm. Let's not cause unnecessary drama. Tisk. Jessica, the girl who'd been shouting at me, clicked her tongue in annoyance. She gave one last glare before snorting to me, Book Leech. Book Leech. Wow, a brand new title. I almost chuckled at the ridiculous insult. Book Leech? That's a new one. As everything settled down, I made my way to my usual seat at the back, beside Anna. She greeted me with a small smile. Morning, Zane. Morning. You handled it well, she said quietly. Not everyone can stay that calm in these situations. I shrugged, leaning back in my chair. I have seen worse. Anna's expression grew serious. Still, be careful around her. Jessica Ross isn't the type to let things go. She's the type who holds grudges. Hey, noted, I replied, chuckling lightly. But I'm not worried. Anna continued, her family has quite the reputation in Terra Nova. They're a bunch of infamous nobles with enough power and connections. And do you know her father is a high-ranking member of the Hero Association? Is that so? I said, though I couldn't bring myself to feel concerned. She will be quite useful to me. You have a weird grin on your face. It's creepy. And also that guy who stepped in, that's Julius Ryengard, Anna added. He ranked first in both the essence test and physical test during admissions. He's practically a celebrity among the first years. Julius, huh? I glanced at the silver-haired boy who was now casually chatting with a group of students. Our conversation lasted shortly as the first class began. Miss Monica, the history of elemental teacher, entered the room with her usual expression. Her sharp blue gaze swept across the class. The lecture passed quickly as she once again debated into the origins of the elemental essences and their impact on society. But before I knew it, the second period has already begun. As Mr. Lucas Vane, the rank 176th hero, entered the training hall, his figure commanded respect as he stood on the raised podium, scanning the room with sharp eyes. "Stand quietly," he ordered, his voice firm and steady. The students present immediately fell silent, the faint sound of tapping feet echoing in the spacious hall. "This class," Lucas began, "is about mastering your weapon. Each of you will wield your chosen weapon and practice the basics. I will monitor your performance one by one, correcting your every mistake and providing feedback if necessary. Remember, even the strongest techniques are built on the foundation of the basics. Don't disappoint me. Begin." With that, the class began. I stepped into my designated spot. Reaching into my dimensional pouch, I retrieved my weapon. My hand griped around the familiar hilt of my black katana as I unsheathed it with a soft metallic hiss. The blade gleamed faintly under the training hall lights, a comforting weight in my hands. I decided to focus on the most basic move, a continuous vertical slash from top to bottom. There was no need to do anything fancy. My arms moved in a steady rhythm, the blade cutting through the air with each swing. Up, down, up, down. Around me, the sound of various weapons filled the hall, clashing swords, the humming energy of weapons, and the occasional clashes of two swords. Lucas moved among the students, his sharp gaze analyzing every detail. Some he praises, while others received corrections. "Good stance. Keep your shoulders relaxed. Don't overextend. Control your movements." I watched out of the corner of my eye as he approached Julius. The silver-haired celebrity first year was wielding a long, double-edged sword with precise, calculated movements. Even from a distance, it was clear why Julius was ranked first in the entrance exams. His technique was flawless, each swing of his sword fluid and powerful. "I'm impressed." "Well done," Lucas said, nodding. "Outstanding weapon handling. Keep it up." Eventually, Lucas made his way toward me. I kept my focus on my swings, the repetitive rhythm of the vertical slashes keeping me grounded. Up, down, up, down. I don't want to draw any unnecessary attention. By keeping things simple, I can live a quiet and uncomplicated life. He stopped a few feet away from me, his arms crossed, watching me silently. I didn't falter, maintaining my same pace and precision. After a few minutes, he finally spoke. "Your stance is solid," he said, his tone neutral. "If you work a little harder, you could become a decent hero. Mission success. But a decent Thero? My technique wasn't that bad. I'm not here for anyone's approval. My goals were my own, and I wasn't about to be swayed by praise or criticism." As the session continued, Mr. Lucas, with his loud voice, declared, "All right, that's it for today. After your lunch, we will be visiting Frostvile Mountain Range for your practical training." On his comment, some whispered evolved across the training hall. "Silence! Now move, don't be late." With this, the class ended. But tomorrow was the real test, the storm I had to face. Today was just another step in the preparation. In a dimly lit room within a grand mansion, blending seamlessly with the faint crackle of a fireplace. The space was luxurious, marble floors, golden chandeliers, and red velvet curtains that swayed slightly from the gentle air slipping through the windows. On a luxurious king-size bed, a figure lounged with an air of absolute confidence. His blonde hair gleamed in the dimed lighting, and his piercing blue eyes reflected the firelight as he sipped a glass of deep red wine. His rough features, sharp jawline, and perfectly groomed hair made him appear as though he belonged on the cover of a fashion magazine. But there was something cold and calculating about his aura, as though every move he made was part of a grander scheme. Beside him was a woman laid beneath the silk sheets, her body trembling with exhaustion, beads of sweat dripping on her forehead, and her rapid breathing, which suggested as if she was still recovering from a long marathon race. Yet the man paid her no mind to her. His attention was solely fixated on the glowing tablet in his hands. He slid through its screen with his finger, his gaze scanning each and every detail with sharp precision. As he paused on one particular screen, a soft chuckle escaped his lips. He swirled the wine in his glass, watching as the liquid catched the light before taking a slow sip. Setting the glass down on the bedside table, he leaned back against the pillows, a satisfied smirk spreading across his face. "All is going according to plan," he murmured to himself, his voice smooth yet dripping with absolute confidence and arrogance. Without another glance, he tossed the tablet onto the floor. The device landed with a thud, its screen still glowing. Displayed on it were detailed blueprints of Nova Academy, along with a comprehensive file on Ruby Oliver, her class schedule, abilities, and even surveillance images. This level of detail analysis suggested weeks, if not months, of precise planning. The man, known as Glory, turned his attention back to the woman beside him. As he ran his finger on her delicate soft back, suddenly he lunged toward her, pinning her beneath him with a wolf-like grin. She gasped softly, but she didn't resist, her body too drained to react. "Please, my mother, spare her," she cried as she closed her eyes in dominance. His fingers trailed lazily down her arm as he whispered in a voice as smooth as silk, "Don't worry, darling. The world waits for no one, and neither do I. And as for Pride, or should I call Ruby, you'll soon realize just how small your world really is." The game had already begun, and Glory always played to win. End of chapter. Chapter 16, Before the Storm. "Hey, move to the side. I want the window seat," Anna said, her voice carrying its usual softness. I sighed and slid over, giving her some space. She flopped down beside me with a satisfied look on her face as she pressed her forehead against the glass to look out for the view. We are currently in a bus. As I looked around, the bus was alive with loud chatter as everyone settled down on their seats. We were heading to Frostvile Mountain for the practical class, a trip that had been on our schedule after the lunch break. As Anna made herself comfortable beside me, my mind wandered to the mountain itself. Frostvile Mountain, a place restricted by the Hero Association for the general public. The top half of the mountain was crawling with monsters, like hounds, chimeras, manticores, creatures that, under normal circumstances, would pose a deadly threat. But because of the Hero Association, they had managed to confine them using a high-class barrier, turning the area into a training ground for aspiring heroes. "Is everyone here?" Sir Lucas is the 176, the ranked hero's voice broke my thought as he stepped onto the bus. "Yes, sir," we all answered in unison. He gave a quick nod and motioned for the driver to start the bus. "Now listen up, everyone. This practical is going to test your teamwork and combat skills. You'll be pairing up in groups of at least 2 and at max 4 members and engaging with hounds, the lowest tier rank F monsters. While they may be the weakest in the ranking system, don't take them lightly. Their speed and ferocity make them dangerous when they are in packs." Hounds. My mind immediately pictured them. Large, wolf-like creatures with jet black fur and glowing red eyes, their razor-sharp claws which could tear through steel, and their fangs coated with venom. Even a scratch from them will lead to a potential death sentence. They are surrounding their hunt in groups and hunted them with precision, using their high-speed motion and numbers to overwhelm their prey. If anyone finds themselves in danger, don't hesitate to press the SOS button on your wristbands. They're directly connected to the Nova's emergency response team, Sir Lucas added. The bus continued, and soon we reached our destination. I leaned towards the window and saw the towering gates of Flora Mountain came into the view. The entire area was enclosed in a shimmering force field. Its faint white glow was barely visible in the sunlight. "Hey, you are squashing me," Anna hissed, looking in my direction with her cheeks slightly flushing red, maybe due to the cold weather. "Sorry." 5 armed guards stood by the entrance. Their advanced weaponry was a clear sign of the level of security this place needed. After a brief check, the gates opened, making a loud screeching sound as our bus rolled through. The training area inside was a hive of various activity, military personnel shouting orders, heavy equipment being moved, and heroes in training preparing for battle. "Everyone, get off," Sir Lucas instructed as the bus came to a halt. "Head to your assigned rooms to change into your combat uniforms and be ready in 30 minutes. After checking my wristwatch, I made my way towards the room that assigned to me. Suddenly, the atmosphere around me charged. The military personnel present here weren't just regular soldiers. They looked like elites, at least 4-digit ranked heroes. That's unusual. Did something happen? The 4-digit ranked heroes were mostly stationed near the border. Placing them here without any reason wouldn't make any sense. Without any delay, I activated my skill, Elemental Sense. As those words left my mouth, a faint ripple courses around me. I adjusted the range around 20 kilometers radius. The world around me blurred, and the map of everything in 20 km radius came alive inside my mind. Within a second, I analyzed the whole area. There were around 47 hounds present, but nothing seems out of ordinary. Then why? I increased the range of my ability. Now the distorted glowing map of the entire area took shape inside my mind. Tiny particles of different color flowed out from every structure, trees and living creatures, but this time the range is 50 km. Adjusting my focus, I witnessed an unusual busy movement deep within the underground. The people present, their emitted essence of different colors, clearly indicating that participants are from various kingdoms and are doing something with absolute precision, which needs the requirements of 4-digit rank heroes. Looks like they are performing some kind of experiment. Ignoring it, I took a mental note to check it after the whole glory thing settled. Reaching my room, I pushed the door open to find a small but functional space, a bed, a study table, and a compact bathroom. On the bed lay a large briefcase with my name and class, Zane Skylark, Class 1A, printed on it. I opened it, and it revealed my combat uniform. It was sleek, a perfect blend of practicality and cutting-edge technology. The material was lightweight yet durable, probably due to the enchantments to enhance mobility and protection. Nanocomputers embedded in the fabric which monitored vitals and movement in real time. The uniform consisted of a tight black t-shirt, military-grade black jeans, and a half-length white leather jacket. The Nova emblem was etched on the right chest, while my name and class, rank 45, were engraved on the left pocket. A belt with a dimensional pouch for carrying the equipments and potions completed the look. I changed quickly, feeling the uniform fit perfectly on me. My vision landed on my left pocket. Rank 45. The class rank is calculated per class basis, and out of 60 students in Class 1A, mine was 45. It wasn't too high to attract unnecessary attention, but not too low to invite trouble. For blending in, it was perfect. As I stepping out of my room, I bumped into Julius, the silver-haired celebrity first year, and his team. He was followed by 2 classmates, a blonde guy whose smug expression for some reason irritated me immediately, and a black-haired beauty who seemed completely absorbed in her tablet. God, she looks like a princess. As I thought that, I realized that I was staring her too much. Her jet black hair matching mine. Her sapphire blue eyes darted across the tablet screen in her hand. Cough. Julius's sudden cough jolted me out of my thought. Good afternoon, Zane, Julius greeted me with a light smile, which catch me off guard. Oh, hello, Julius, I replied. What does he want from me? We've got an open spot on our team. Why don't you join us? He offered. I hesitated, but eventually shook my head. I'm already paired with someone. Was it Anna? Oh, Julius asked, raising an eyebrow. Before I could respond, the blonde guy scoffed. You're pairing with her. How'd you manage that? She doesn't exactly strike me as the friendly type. I shrugged. It just, happened. The blonde snorted again but said nothing more. Julius didn't seem to mind my refusal and simply nodded, as if satisfied with my answer. The black-haired girl, still engrossed in her tablet, spoke up for the first time. Let's go. The practical's about to start, she said curtly. Her eyes met mine, but she shifted it immediately. Julius gave me a polite nod before following his team. I watched them leave and then exhaled slowly. As I stepped out, I spotted Anna waiting at the corridor. She was wearing the same combat uniform as me, but the number engraved on her jacket was 3, a clear reminder of her rank in the class. She gave me a look, her sharp eyes scanning me from head to toe. "It suits you," she said casually. Her tone was light. "Thanks," I replied, adjusting my jacket as we made our way toward the gathering area. Sir Lucas was already there. His high-volume voice cuts through the chatter like a blade. He didn't need a speaker. His commanding tone was enough to silence the entire military base. "Listen up carefully. One last reminder of the rules," he began. "Pair up, stay cautious, and remain aware of your surroundings. Normally, final-year students would be stationed here to oversee this exercise and help you if you were in trouble, but they're occupied with tomorrow's event. That means you're on your own out there. Do not underestimate the hounds. They're still dangerous, especially if you let your guard down. Follow the marked path, and remember, press the SOS button on your wristband if you encounter trouble." Wait, didn't he previously stated that he will keep everyone safe? With that, his lecture ended, and the group began to come. Anna and I stuck together, walking side by side as we followed the path leading deeper into the mountain. "The hounds are sensitive to sound and smell," I reminded her. "Stay quiet and keep your movements controlled." Anna nodded, listening to me carefully as we went further. The atmosphere grew heavy, and the only sounds left were the rustling of leaves and the occasional whistle of the wind. I glanced behind us but couldn't see any of our classmates. I guessed maybe they'd either fallen behind or taken a different route entirely. "Be ready," I whispered, sensing the shift in the air. "We're surrounded." Anna tensed up, her hand moving to the hilt of her saber. "Relax, nothing's going to happen to you," I assured her. 4 hounds suddenly emerged from the bushes, their glowing red eyes locking onto us. 2 were in front of us, 2 behind. They growled, saliva dripping from their fanged mouths, their intent unmistakable. "Take the 2 in front," I instructed, unsheathing my black katana. Anna hesitated for a moment but nodded as she drew her saber. The hounds jumped in front of me. I adjusted my stance, keeping my movements deliberate. I wasn't here to show off. This was definitely a monitored exercise, and I didn't want any unnecessary attention. The first hound lunged at me, and I waited until the last second before stabbing my katana into its neck. It fell with a pained whimper, blood pooling beneath it. The second hound hesitated after witnessing this, its eyes darting between me and its fallen companion. It tried to flee, but before it could, I was already in front of it. With a quick slash, I torn its stomach open, and it collapsed in a heap. Turning to Anna, I was surprised to see she had already dispatched her targets. Her saber glinted with fresh blood as she looked at me. A slight smirk appeared on her lips. "I'm impressed." "That was easy," she said. "Are hounds always this weak?" "They're just F-rank monsters," I replied, sheathing my katana. "Don't let this give you a false sense of security. There are monsters out there capable of eradicating entire cities. Hounds are nothing compared to what's waiting beyond this training ground." She listened intently, her smirk replaced with genuine curiosity. Tapping in my wristband, I checked the time displayed on the holographic screen, 03:00 p.m. The rest of the practical passed without any incident. By the evening, we returned to the military base and regrouped with the others. Sir Lucas stood before us. "Congratulations on completing your first monster hunt," he announced, Anna. "But don't get full of yourselves. Hounds are among the weakest of F-rank monsters. This is only the beginning." With that, he dismissed us. I went back to my assigned room. I wasted no time in taking out the combat uniform and stepping into the shower. The hot water cleared the sweat in my body, washing away the grime and blood of hounds. When I stepped out, I noticed my wristband glowing faintly. Tapping it, a holographic screen appeared, displaying a message that made me grin ear to ear. "The job's done. By tomorrow afternoon, it'll be all over the news. Hopes to work with you again, Mia Hartz." The message was from Mia, my contractor from the Black Market's mercenary department. It had only been 7 hours since I had assigned the task, and they'd already completed it. "They're fast," I muttered to myself, drying my hair with a towel as I stared at the message. Tomorrow was going to be an interesting day. End of chapter. Chapter 17, Glory. The morning sun rays streamed from the windows at my side as the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air. I sat at my usual spot at the corner of my cafe as I glanced at my plate, which was nearly empty. Just a few crumbs of toast and the last sip of my coffee left. I leaned back in my chair, feeling unusually calm. Today was the day. The corner of my mouth twitched slightly as I thought about Mia's message. According to her, the news would start spreading around 12 noon. I pushed my plate aside, grabbed my coat, and stood up. "Thanks for the breakfast," I called out to my mom, who was busy behind the counter. She smiled warmly. "Don't skip lunch." "Wouldn't dream of it," I said with a smirk and walked out. The train ride to Frostville City was as quiet as ever. I found my usual seat empty by the window, watching the cityscape blur into the countryside as the train sped along. The scenery of Frostville mountain range pulled me into my thoughts. Glory's seminar was conducted in Nova's auditorium, the largest auditorium in Frostville Kingdom, capable of holding almost 500,000 people. Nova provides all these extraordinary facilities, and that's not the reason that why Nova is considered the greatest. Nova Academy is different, unique actually. The laws of essence that govern this world don't apply here. Normally, students from different kingdoms are affected by the lack of their dominant elemental in kingdom other than their homeland. But here at Nova, it's an entirely different story. Nova has all the elemental essences, fire, water, earth, wind, and ice balanced equally. No student suffers from a disadvantage due to their elemental. But some may ask, how is that even possible? Isn't the distribution of essence tied to the environment? Exactly. In theories, it shouldn't be possible. But according to my speculation, it's tied to quantum field dynamics, which is a sort of essence equilibrium field that blankets the whole academy grounds. Others also think there might be an ancient artifact buried deep beneath the campus, something that stabilizes all the elemental essences. But no one truly knows. It's one of Nova's greatest mysteries. That's why students from all 5 kingdoms flock to Nova instead of their local academies. Here, they get to compete with others on equal footing, unaffected by the limitations of elemental laws. And that's what makes Nova not just an academy, but also one of the greatest kingdoms on the planet. After an hour, I finally arrived at Frostville. Standing in front of Nova's gates, I spotted Anna. She looked as focused as ever, her sharp crimson eyes scanning the area. That's unusual. "Morning, Anna." "Hi," I called out. She turned, her face lighting up slightly when she saw me. "Good morning, Zane." "Why are you so early today?" I asked, walking up to her. Anna brushed her crimson hair behind her ear. "I wanted to grab a front row seat at the seminar. You know how packed it's going to be." I raised an eyebrow. A teasing grin appeared on my face. "What's this? Don't tell me you admire Glory?" Her cheeks turned a faint shade of red as she shook her head vigorously. "It's not that. I just want to know how someone can become that powerful. I mean, he's a single ranker. How can I not get excited?" "Pfft," I chuckled softly. Her relentless drive to learn and improve was something I couldn't help but admire. She wasn't like the others who idolized someone blindly. She simply wanted to understand, to push herself further, to become someone similar to them. "You know," I said, "that's one thing I respect about you the most. You work harder than anyone to get what you want." Anna glanced at me, surprised, then smiled faintly. "Thanks, I guess." As we walked towards the seminar hall, Anna suddenly stopped. "Crap," she muttered, patting her bag. "I forgot my memo pad." "We still have time. I'll go with you to grab one." "Really? You don't mind?" "Not at all," I said, motioning her to lead the way. We headed to the campus convenience store. Nova really had it all: lounges, training grounds, even a coliseum. It was a city within a city. As we reached the store, a middle-aged man greeted us. "What can I get for you?" Anna stepped forward. "A memo pad, please." He handed her a small, neatly bound pad, which she inspected before nodding. "I'll take it." The shopkeeper then turned to me. "And you, young man?" Without hesitation, I replied, "A bucket of popcorn." For a moment, there was only silence. Anna looked at me like I finally lost my mind. "Popcorn? The seminar's about to start." "Why do you need popcorn?" I grinned. Exactly. That's the point. She sighed, clearly giving up. You're impossible. I paid for my bucket, and we finally made our way to the seminar hall. As we entered, the hall was already filled with students from all years, and the seats were rapidly filling up. Anna frowned. The front row's already taken. I pretended to share her disappointment. Damn, I guess I won't get to see Glory's reaction up close. Did you say something? Anna asked. We settled for a seat in the third row. As we sat down, I placed my bucket of popcorn on my lap, the buttery scent filling up my nose. Anna shook her head but didn't say anything. I glanced at my wristband. The time displayed was 11:20 a.m. I tossed a piece of popcorn into my mouth, savoring the buttery flavor. And my mind already replayed the scene I was anticipating. The gasps, the outrage. This is going to be fun, I muttered under my breath, a wide grin tugging at my lips. Today, the first dog of Hero Association would fall. Glory would be my first stepping stone. And soon the rest of the Hero Association would follow. They didn't deserve the admiration, the praise, the power, or the trust they held. I was going to tear it all down. End of chapter. Author note: there will be 2 chapters today. Chapter 18, Glory. The grand seminar hall buzzed with energy. It was 11:30 a.m. The massive auditorium was packed, wall to wall with students of every year. From eager freshmen to composed seniors, they had all gathered here to witness the rank 3 hero, Glory, the third strongest human known to mankind. Crunch, crunch. Sitting in my seat, I could hear all the whispering, gossiping, and few words of praise. Did you hear about his last mission? He took down an entire army of orcs single-handedly. He's incredible. I can't believe we get to see him in person. Glory is amazing. He's the reason I wanted to be a hero in the first place. To their faces, he was their savior, their idol, their hope. But to me, he was nothing but a facade, a man whose reputation and power would crumble into dust today. I leaned back to my seat, popping another piece of popcorn into my mouth. Crunch, crunch. Hey, will you stop eating now? Beside me, Anna said, glaring at me. Sorry. At exactly 11:45, the doors at the front of the hall creaked open, and the sound of chatter quieted for a moment before a wave of cheers swept through the entire hall. And there he was. Glory strode inside like a king entering his throne room, his presence commanding everyone's attention without even a single word. All the lights seemed to shift, highlighting him as though the universe itself was bending to his will. His blonde hair glowed under the spotlight, every strand perfectly in place. His white and gold color, hero uniform, was immaculate and flawless. Clung to him like it was crafted by a gold itself. He exuded an authority and aura of someone worthy of a rank. 3 title. The room suddenly erupted into cheers, claps, and screams of excitement, filling the space like a tidal wave. Some students jumped on their feet, applauding so hard that their hand must have stung. A few even waved to banners, bearing his name and emblem. "Oh God, look at him," a student near me whispered, almost awestruck. "He's so handsome." I smirked, watching as the grand performance of his unfold. Glory waved his hand to the crowd with a perfection smile, almost as if he had rehearsed it 100 times. And with that, the crowd cheered him with even louder cheers, like a well-trained orchestra reaching its crescendo. What a show-off. "Thank you very much," Glory began his speaking as he ascended the stage and stood behind the podium. His deep, commanding voice echoed throughout the hall, silencing every noise almost instantly. "It's an honor to stand before the brightest minds and future heroes of our world. You all represent the hope of tomorrow, and I am here to guide you to achieve that tomorrow." I popped another palmful of popcorn into my mouth and chewed it slowly. "Hope of tomorrow, huh?" I muttered under my breath, the corners of my mouth curling into a smirk. "Let's see if there's a hope for you tomorrow." And with that, he began his speech. The crowd hung on to his every word, their eyes glimmering with admiration. Beside me, Anna, scribbling down every word he is spouting. But I wasn't listening. My focus was completely on my wristband. The timer ticked down, second by second, and my heart raced in anticipation. I have almost full confidence that this strategy of mine will definitely work. But I am a bit excited as this is my very first move against the Hero Association. And I know better than anyone what are they actually capable of. The whole facade of Hero Association being the protector of humanity is not 100% correct. There are people from Hero Association that I knew are even worse than Glory, and for everyone's better future, someone needs to remove those people. Finally, the clock struck noon. Buzz, buzz. A soft buzz broke the air. It started really small, almost unnoticeable, but within seconds, it grew. Wristbands vibrated all across the hall as their screens lighting up with notifications. At first, it was just confusion. Students glanced at their wrists, their excitement wavering. The whispers began again, quieter but sharper this time. What's happening? Why is everyone's wristband buzzing? Students exchanged puzzled glances with each other as their attention shifted from Glory to their wristbands. The noise of confusion grew louder as the holographic screens of wristband appeared on everyone's control panel. Breaking news, Hero Rank 3, Glory accused of treason. Shocking allegations surface against Hero Glory. Evidence leaked, bribery, abuse, assault, and more. These types of headlines keep popping up on every news channels and articles. The words spread throughout the hall like wildfire. Students leaned closer to each other, sharing their screens, pointing at the headlines. The noise grew louder, mixing gasps, exclamations, and shouts. No way! This can't be real, a girl whispered, her voice trembling. It has to be fake. There's no way Glory would... Look at this, another student interrupted, holding up his wristband. Images filled the holographic display, images of Glory receiving bribery, disgusting images of him with different women, secret meetings with known criminals, videos of him killing innocents, followed by each clip more damning than the last. His voice wad clear in every videos and audios, giving orders for all kinds of operations. Are these real? Anna asked. Her tone had a mixture of shock and despair. No way, a first-year whispered as tears started pooling in her eyes. But he's a hero. How could he? Another student yelled, his voice cracking with anger. The room soon descended into chaos. Students stood as they began shouting accusations and questions at each other. Some even clung to denial, with their voices rising in defense of their idol, while others stared at the evidence in stunned silence. I just couldn't help it. I laughed. It wasn't loud, but it was enough. Watching as their so-called hero's world crumble, their faith disintegrate right in front of them, was more satisfying than I'd imagined. On stage, Glory's words faltered. His words slowed down, then stopped entirely. His confident facade was finally cracking a little. Your strength will determine... He froze, his eyes scanning the crowd. He definitely felt it. The shift of emotion in the room, the weight of hundreds of eyes filled with the confusion, doubt, and disgust stared at him. His assistant rushed to him, whispering something urgently into his ear. Glory fumbled with his wristband, his hand trembling as he read the notifications. His face finally paled, and for a moment he looked human, vulnerable, really pathetic. What? This is nonsense, what he stammered was barely audible. He raised a hand, his voice trembling. Everyone, listen. This is clearly a ploy campaign, a coordinated attack to discredit me. Lies, all lies. Don't believe those. You're nothing but a criminal, someone shouted from the crowd. How could you do this to us? The hall erupted once more. Students were yelling, crying, accusing him. Glory's assistant tried to guide him off the stage, but he resisted him. This is all fake. I leaned back in my chair, savoring the flavor of my popcorn. Every shout, every tear, every look of disbelief, it was just perfect. Just look at him, I thought, watching as Glory's hands trembled on the stage, his face drenched in sweat. The man who once commanded the admiration of millions now looked like a cornered animal, desperate and afraid. I wondered how everyone felt, as to find out that Glory's true color wasn't glorious at all. Yuan! I stood up from my seat, stretching lazily as the noises behind me continued to rise. Tossing one last piece of popcorn into my mouth, I let out a satisfied sigh. Well, that was really entertaining, and I muttered under my breath. A smirk appeared on my lips as I walked toward the exit. This is nothing compared to what I have planned for him next. End of chapter, chapter 19, Glory. Crash! A sharp sound of shattering glass pierced through the air, echoing through a grand chamber. A deep red of the wine trickled down the elegant white wall, staining them like blood. A man with blonde hair and handsome appearance stood amidst the chaos. His chest was heaving. His face has a storm of emotions, likely anger, disbelief, and the faintest hint of fear. His usually pristine suit was wrinkled, his tie loosened, his hair falling over his forehead in wild strands. How? Glory's voice cracked as he whispered, his gaze still fixed on the shards of glass which he scattered across the marble floor. Then, as if the weight of many questions crushed him all at once, his voice finally exploded in the room, shaking with rage. How did it got leaked? Who did it? He slammed his fists on the desk. The wood slightly cracked under the force. His breathing was sharp and uneven. As he stood up and paced the room, his mind was racing in a chaotic spiral, connecting each and every dots. His thoughts were entangled like a mess, like pieces of a puzzle that refused to fit. Who the hell betrayed me? How? He asked himself the same question again and again, his mind throwing endless possibilities to find the answers he seek. His mind raced as he thought everything calmly. No one but me knew about the bribes, the assaults, all of it. No one. Then who could it be? He paused for a moment, his hands trembling as he raked them up through his hair. His usually sharp, calculating mind was clouded with rage, but beneath the rage was a creeping dread, a fear he refused to name, something he refuses to accept. Someone has outsmarted him. For the very first time, he felt his confidence flicker. His usual overly confident aura finally dimed down, as he fumbled on the possibilities of the person who has outsmarted the rank. 3 hero. Could it be a rival noble house? He dismissed that thought almost instantly. No, they wouldn't dare. They know the consequences of crossing me all too well. His thoughts finally jumped toward the single rankers. Hope? He shook his head. No, for some reason, Hope had been unusually quiet lately. Then who? Ruby? The thought lingered for a moment before he scoffed. No, she couldn't. She wouldn't even have the means to gather all these evidences. He clenched his jaw tightly, as his frustration was visible as clearly as day. With every dead end his thoughts hit. His fists clenched tightly as his nails digging deeper into his palms as he muttered under his breath. The lone silence of the room pressed in on him, amplifying the pounding sound of his heart. Suddenly his wristwatch buzzed, the sound cutting through his messed-up thoughts like a blade. Glory's eyes snapped to the watch. His heart sinks when he saw the name flashing across the holographic screen. Marcus Bloodstone. Fuck, my life. For a moment he just stood there, his breath hitching. He wiped his face with his trembling hands, trying to compose himself. But that name alone gets a shiver ran down his spine. With a deep breath, he tapped the screen and answered the call. Yes, sir? The silence on the other end was loud, stretching as long enough for Glory's anxiety to claw at his chest. Then finally a single word came through the line, sharp, cold, and cutting. Explain. Glory flinched as though the word had struck him both mentally and physically. He swallowed hard, and his voice was stammering as he spoke. Sir, I don't know what happened. Someone must have gotten their hands on the evidence. I swear I had everything under control. He felt fear, extreme fear. That long sigh from Marcus's end cuts Glory's life in half. It was soft but heavy, like the calm before a storm. When he spoke again, his voice was calm, yet each word dripped with icy fury. Didn't I warn you, Glory? Marcus said. His tone was sharp enough to draw blood. I warned you, but you refused to listen. You let yourself drown in money and pleasure, and now look at the mess you've created. I'll fix it, Glory said, gritting his teeth. Just give me one last chance. Fix it? Fix what? Marcus's voice cut him off, sharp and cold. The news has already spread across all 5 kingdoms. You're trending at #1, Glory. Congratulations, Glory. You've finally achieved the rank 1 position you have always wanted. But it's not the rank 1 you have dreamed of, is it? Marcus's words made Glory's chest burn with anger, his pride screaming and lashing to him. but he forced himself to swallow his fury, because Marcus wasn't someone he could afford to cross. "I will fix this, I promise," he said, his voice shaking with suppressed rage. "I'll make everything right." There was a long pause on the other end. The silence was heavy and oppressive before Marcus finally spoke. "Then first," he said, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper, "finish your damn mission." Glory nodded rapidly, even though Marcus couldn't see him from his end. "Yes, sir, I'll finish it." The call ended abruptly. The connection was dead, leaving Glory standing alone in the silence of the grand room. What will he do now? On whom will he unleash his anger? Everything he planned for his so-called master plan to eliminate Ruby Olive was now a faraway call for him. His chest heaved as his emotions played a theatrical play, boiling over, anger, frustration, and the smallest flicker of fear inside him. But above all, hatred burned brightly in his chest, fueling him. Ruby Oliver. Her name echoed in his mind like a curse. If she truly was behind this, or even if she wasn't, she would pay the price. A cruel grin spread across his face as he reached for a hand mirror and a comb. He combed his hair back into place, straightening his appearance. He needed to look composed. He needed to look powerful. "I'll destroy her," he whispered, his voice echoing with malice. "I'll break her until there's nothing left of her mentally, physically, everything." Headmaster Office Nova. The room was dimly lit and sunlight barely streaming through the thick curtains that covers the grand windows of the headmaster's office at Nova Academy. Ruby Olive sat at her desk, stacks of paperwork filling her desk, reports from students, faculty files, and other administrative documents. Her crimson eyes blinked over a holographic screen hovering before her, its soft purple glow reflecting off her pale skin. The news anchor's voice filled the room. The fall from grace of one of the world's most revered heroes. Rank 3 hero, Glory, accused of treason, assault, bribery, and harassment. Evidence has surfaced that exposes his involvement in countless scandals, an unprecedented event in the history of the Hero Association. Public outcry has reached an all-time high, with demands for a full investigation into Glory's actions. Ruby watched the screen with a cold expression, her slender fingers continuing to sort the papers as though the news didn't even concern her. Yet her sharp eyes betrayed her thoughts, absorbing every detail. After a moment, by flicking her wrist, the holographic screen vanished, making a soft buzzing sound. She leaned back in her chair as she clasped her hands behind her head and stretched it upward, and her eyes for a moment kept staring at the carvings on the ceiling. And suddenly, a flash of worry crossed her face, a fleeting emotion she couldn't ignore. Her lips parted as she muttered softly to herself, "So it has finally started." This was no longer a game. The stakes had risen high above, and the battle was shifting sides. The world's trust in its heroes had begun to crack, and she knew that more than anyone. But before the burden of the situation could engulf her, Zane's face appeared in her thoughts. His smirking face, the mischievous glint in his eyes, and his unwavering determination brought a faint smile to her lips. Hey. Her worries melted away, replaced by a warmth that was very comforting. She was an orphan, and to her, Zane was more than a friend or an ally. He was family to her, the only family she had ever had. Ruby rested her chin on her palm, her smile widening, her gaze to a small black box resting on her desk. The box was simple in design, its smooth surface reflecting the dim light of the room. Ruby reached for it as she stood and walked over to the bookshelf beside her desk. Carefully, she placed the box on the shelf, positioning it to a certain direction. She returned to her chair. Crossing her legs, she leaned back once again, her gaze shifting to her wristwatch. Her eyes sharpened as she stared at the watch, anticipation building. She was waiting. And then, right on cue, the soft buzz of the watch broke the silence. A smirk appeared at the corners of Ruby's lips. Just like he predicted. The name displayed on the holographic screen was Marcus Bloodstone. End of chapter, main N. The character's window has been added. It will help you imagine them more clearly. Shower them with your popularity. Chapter 20. This is just the beginning. Sitting on a long bench on Nova's cafeteria, I was savoring the flavor of a chocolate ice cream. The chocolate bar in my hand was melting faster than I could eat it, and a small trickle of the chocolate escaped and sliding down my wrist. But I was quicker. I licked it clean before it could escape. I smirked to myself. Hey, no one escapes me untouched. That's really cringe, Anna said, sitting beside me with an unpleasant look. I laughed, not feeling offended. You just don't appreciate my talent. Anna rolled her eyes and went back to lick her own ice cream. Unlike me, her movement was elegant. The scene from just an hour ago played into my head, and I couldn't help but chuckle again. The great Glory, standing on the stage before everything, became chaotic. All the students were roaring as they expressed their fury. Many items were thrown at his direction: shoes, tomatoes, and someone even managed to get a stone. For crying out loud, Glory dodged them all with smug efficiency of his. But even his skill couldn't save him from the humiliation. What do you think? Was it all true, everything they're saying about him? Anna broke the silence. I kept my expression calm. Who knows? But the evidence are all there, isn't it? Then it must be true. Anna stared at her ice cream for a moment, as if lost in thought. Then she spoke again. This time her voice was softer. Were heroes really the one protecting us? She said, or did they just don't care at all? What if all the heroes were the same? Her words hung in the air. I frowned. My grip tightened on the now half-eaten ice cream bar. Anna's questions weren't just silly or unnecessarily. They were the kind of questions that tore people apart from the inside. I glanced at her. Her eyes were clouded with doubts. She had always admired heroes. Her belief in them was unwavering, and I broke that for her. Her questions are reasonable. I mean, just think about it. People admired a particular hero, but one day they find out they're nothing but a bunch of criminals possessing great powers. It could shake anyone to their core. She just kept eating her ice cream, though her pace had slowed down, as if she couldn't quite enjoy it anymore. As the lunch break ended, we stood up and began walking back to our class. The campus around us felt heavy. The usual lively environment was now replaced by a stifling silence. Everywhere I looked, students were lost in their own thoughts. Their faces were all same, mirroring the confusion and disappointment that Anna felt. When we entered the classroom, I noticed that the atmosphere here was no different. It was like watching someone stripped from their faith. It's quite funny. It reminded me of people that discovered that their gods weren't real, that their prayers didn't reach anyone. And this was exactly what I wanted. People worship heroes like gods. They think they're invincible and untouchable. But I know better. Heroes can fall. They can die. And I am living proof of it. I wanted to show the world that heroes weren't what they always seemed. But yes, there are also few heroes who would sacrifice their everything to save someone. But others were nothing more than greedy cowards, consumed by power and fame. And the world didn't need those kinds of heroes. No, I would tear them down. One by one, suddenly the wristband on my arm buzzed, pulling me from my thoughts. The message on the screen displayed was really shocking. Student announcement: classes are canceled for the day. The sudden notification sent a ripple of surprise throughout the room, and whispers of my classmates quickly turned to loud murmurs. Nova had never canceled classes before. Not once. He finally made his move. Anna glanced at me. What's going on? I answered, stepping away from my desk. Who knows? Anyways, I got to go. See you tomorrow. Yeah, see you. But I wasn't heading home. I had one last thing to do, one final step to ensure Glory's destruction. Same day, Nova headmistress office. Sitting on her leather chair, Ruby had a smirk appeared at the corner of her lips. Just like he predicted, she said softly. The name displayed on the holographic screen of her wristband sent a chill through the air. Her smirk faded, replaced by a cold and neutral expression as she tapped to answer the call. Yes, she asked calmly. There was a few seconds of silence, followed by a deep, commanding voice broke it. I have a mission for you, Marcus began. Ruby suppressed the grin which had spread across her face, her chest swelling with pride. Everything was falling perfectly into place, just as Zane had planned, his flawlessly orchestrated strategy. His brilliance never ceased to amaze her, and even in this moment, she couldn't help but marvel at how far ahead he has predicted. I'm listening, she replied. Marcus continued, his tone carried a linger of frustration. As you know, Glory has caused quite the complications. His mistakes have drawn both the media's and public attention, And now they are questioning. The trust in the Hero Association is degrading, and that is something we cannot afford. You're currently stationed near him, so I'm authorizing you to handle this matter. Do whatever it takes, subdue him or silence him. Permanently, if necessary. Ruby raised her eyebrow, her voice measured. Wait, permanently? That could provoke his noble family. No, it will harm both Nova and me. Marcus cut her off sharply. Don't worry. This will remain confidential. No one will know what happens. The Hero Association reputation must be preserved, no matter the cost. Then Marcus said the words which she hated the most, words that has sent a cold chill down her spine. You are our greatest creation, Ruby. We gave you a gift. You can easily take him down. Her stomach crunches, and her heart clenched in disgust. Creation. That single word unlocked many of her memories, which she wishes to forget. The uneasiness made her voice falter. Understood, sir. Leave this mission to me. The call ended, leaving Ruby alone in her office. Her hands clenched into fists on the desk as she remembered Marcus's words. Let's see who truly holds the power in this world, she murmured silently. Knock, knock. Suddenly a knock broke the silence. Straightening her posture, she called, Come in. The door creaked open. A man with blonde hair, emerald eyes walked inside. He greeted her with a light bow. So this is the famous headmistress, Ruby Oliver. A pleasure to meet someone so young and talented. Ruby offered a polite smile, though her every senses screamed caution. How can I help you? Glory's smile widened as he stepped closer, his hand already moving to his dimensional ring. Oh, nothing much. In an instant, his spear materialized into existence in his right hand, its tip hurtling toward Ruby's chest with lightning speed. But Ruby was attentive. Her instincts were on high alert. With swift reflexes, she drew her double-edged sword and parried the attack. Their blades meeting created a burst of sparks. The clash was over in the blink of an eye, leaving the room echoing with vibrating sound of clashed metals. Glory stepped back, his emerald eyes glowing with excitement. Impressive reflexes, he said, twirling his spear. What are you doing? Ruby demanded. Her tone was icy. He smirked, the air around him shifting as earthen energy swirled. Quit the act. I didn't know who you are, Pride. So do me a favor and just die. The energy around him solidified, forming hundreds of metallic spears, which spun like a drill in the midair. In an instant, they all launched toward her, Ruby dodging each one of them. Her movements were quick, but one spear grazed her shoulder. Ah, she hissed in pain, clutching her wound. But as Glory's gaze sharpened, he noticed something unusual. There was no visible damage appeared on her skin. Whoosh, he whistled in amusement. So that's your power, huh? No physical damage, What's this? Ah, you do feel pain. Interesting. Let me see more. Ruby glared at him, her crimson eyes glowing with fury. She raised her hand and casted her spell, Flame Bullets. The air around her ignited as hundreds of flaming orbs formed. Without delay, she launched them all at once. The explosion shook the room, shaking the very foundations of the building. Smoke and heat filled the air. But as it was cleared, a tungsten-shaped dome stood in between her and Glory. Glory stepped out while smirk mockingly. Is that all you've got? You're weak. You only reached rank 7 because you are their so-called creation. Nothing more. Ruby's hands trembled as her rage finally peaked. Don't you dare call me that! Compressing all her strength, she activated her ultimate spell, Hellflame. The moisture in the room evaporated instantly. A red orb formed in front of her as it changes its color to orange, then yellow, and finally into a radiating violet blue. The sheer heat released from it caused the nearby objects to melt. Without a word, she hurled it at Glory. The orb shot through the air like a meteor. Its power was truly devastating. Glory braced himself as he raised his spear. The moment it struck, the spear's metallic surface absorbed the attack ray as it burst into a red glow as it infused with the fire essence. Ruby's eyes widened in shock. What? Glory laughed as he pointed his spear at her. Heh, my spear is called Point Breaker, an ancient artifact, he explained further. It can absorb the impact of all the elementals in existence, and your greatest attack is now mine. With that, he released the energy stored in the spear, which vibrated with deadly force. Ruby's heart pounded as the attack hurtled toward her. She has no means to avoid it. But before it impacts, a voice echoed in the office. Distortion. End of chapter.